If you're going to sum up the first 5 rounds of the 2017 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, you basically do it in 2 words. Martin Kroenke. He has won all 5 rounds of the championship despite not having started on pole position in each of those rounds. Now we come to Silverstone after a spring vacation and the track, of course, where Gregor Hutu ran out of fuel on the final lap. Have you ever indeed? Today, Martin Kroenke is going to look to try and go one half of a season undefeated, but there's going to be 34 other drivers looking to become the first other driver to win a round of the 2017 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series and make themselves the driver to beat the streak and break the code. Qualifying will be coming up here in just a moment's time on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live as we welcome you to coverage of the 6th round of the 2017 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are glad to welcome you into our home and us into yours. Qualifying is next.
Introducing a whole new form of racing to the best online racing simulation in the world. This is Dirt Racing on iRacing.com. Race online at some of America's most legendary dirt tracks, including Eldora and Williams Grove. iRacing is the premier online racing game featuring NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, and now World of Outlaws, the leading sanctioning body for dirt racing. iRacing is easy to use and features a centralized ranking system to make sure you have the best experience at any skill level. With a massive inventory of high-precision laser scan tracks and cars with an unmatched dedication to quality and detail, iRacing gives you the most authentic online racing experience available. Thanks to iRacing's dynamic track system, developed specifically for dirt racing, tracks change over the course of a race, just like your favorite dirt track on a Friday or Saturday night. From a slick racing groove all the way up to the cushion, iRacing's dirt tracks deliver non-stop racing action. Partnered with the World of Outlaws, iRacing is your source for the most authentic dirt racing experience available, featuring 4 brand new tracks and 11 new cars, including street stocks, legends cars, late models, NASCAR trucks, winged and non-winged sprint cars, with much more on the way. Join the Dirt Revolution on iRacing.com and start slinging mud today.
Welcome to Silverstone, to the 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series and to qualifying, which all season long has proven to be exhilarating, but also incredibly important. It's Will Vincent along with Jonathan Simon as we are going to be having ourselves another fantastic session. Drivers are on their out laps. We're going to take you right to their action as the times will begin to come in a moment's time. We've got most of the drivers out then on track right now. Bonner House, Martin Fiatella, Graham Carroll, Matt Backham, Isaac Price, Ollie Pakula, Yao Vaz, Antoine Hegelin are all on track. No times have yet been set, but we've got a long way to go in this qualifying session. What we do know is that drivers that start up front generally do well, but doesn't mean they're going to win the motor race, because Martin Kroenke hasn't always started a race on pole position. Johnny, it's been a quick turnaround, but hey, qualifying's on and we love qualifying.
Qualifying's been so entertaining this season. Welcome everybody. And I mean, it's just been compared to 2016, I just felt more dramatic in qualifying in 2017 for some reason. So again, 6th round of the season. After this, it will be halfway through our 2017 campaign. It was a 1 minute 19.8 last year for pole, and Kroenke currently with a 20.0 provisionally in P1. Good to see Bono Haas qualifying well. Graham Carroll back out on the grid too.
Yeah, there you can see then qualifying time showing up in your screen. Martin Kroenke is fastest by 2.5 tenths per second over Bono Haas. Martin Piatella in 3rd place. Graham Carroll 4th. Matt Backham in 5th. Yoni Tamada, Isaac Price, Patrick Holtzman, Ollie Pakula and Yuta Saito round out your top 10. We're going to have a word about Patrick Holtzman because once again, he's a privateer, Johnny.
I mean, 5th or 6th different team. I've lost count, and it's not to put shade on the guy. It's just it is what it is. You know, we don't sugarcoat things here. Something's got to be sorted out there, and he's got to find a solution to really get some stability in his sim racing career, and I think that's one of his biggest weaknesses now.
Can I just interject here? Am I blind, or is there a lack of a Gregor Hutu here?
Yeah, so no Hutu in qualifying at least, and that could be a huge difference.
Championship.
Yeah, well, exactly. And so far at the moment, he could join the grid. It depends. We don't know, so we don't want to count him out so far. So I did mention Graham Carroll has joined. The first time we've seen him since his accident with Yao Vaz at Montreal when Carroll was going for a podium. And wow, no Hutu. That could be a... Wow. I don't know what to say.
Times are moving up and down your field. You just saw Ollie Pakula go to 2nd. Then Graham Carroll goes up to 2nd. 37 1,000ths of a second behind Martin Kroenke, but not able to beat him. So Martin Kroenke's done this all season long, where basically he'll go out early, set a lap time, then sit and wait on pit road to see if anyone's going to beat him. This stage, we'll probably see Kroenke go out in about 2, maybe 2.5 minutes time, just to go out and do a side lap, just in case he needs to do a fast lap. Marcus Jensen currently running in 13th place in the Apex Racing UK number 12 machine right now, as he is about to complete, I wouldn't say he's going to complete a lap with that thing, he's about to start a lap there in the number 12 car. We're going to ride on board with him as you see, we'll just take the start-finish line and now go blitzing it down into Cops Corner. That's how fast they go in these Formula 1 cars. We saw the guys lifting, braking earlier on Racesport Race Day. That's not the case here today. Stephen Michaels. Good qualifying by Stephen Michaels, actually, for the time being. 9th place in that Vortex sim racing car.
Yeah, he wants to be a front runner in this series. I spoke to Stephen recently, and he wants to bounce back. He wants to go back to his Twister Racing days and improve on that and become even better than he was back then many, many years ago. And so... he's still young, still got potential to extract. As one of the drivers goes up the order, is that Mac Backham, I think, climbs himself up in the 9th, or it might have been somebody else. Yavaz in 7th. Yes, thank you. Yavaz in 7th. Yuta Saito, I think, coming into the series last year, this is his 2nd season, really one of the most underrated drivers. This is a bombshell. One of the most underrated drivers, I think, out there on the grid. I mean, he's part of Radicals. They need all they can in terms of positive. And look at that, P6 on the grid provisionally. Yuta
Saito, Kazuki Yumashima. I think that when these two work well together in terms of testing and development, they work so well. And I think that's been the story of the day, the story of the year for Radicals. The closer Yuta Saito and Kazuki Yumashima have been able to work. And let's not forget, they're countrymen, so they'll be testing more at the same time. When one of them hooks it up, they likely both hook it up. It's Marcus Jensen, actually, up into P number 5. We saw him a moment ago, but that P number 5, impressive by him. In fact, he's ahead of Marty Piatella by a good 6/100ths of a second, and only 6/100ths of a second behind Bono Haas. So that is a fantastic qualifying by him.
Yeah, so Jensen is a rookie in this series as well. He qualified 10th at Montreal. This so far would be his best starting position. And very good. He's around some big names here. It's going to really be overwhelming on the grid when he looks around him and he sees Bono, Martin, Graham, Marty, everybody else as well around him. And good to see Ollie Pakula as well, he needed to improve on his qualifying struggles. And there's a reason why we haven't spoken about Ollie that much at least in the past few races. He's nowhere to be seen. He's starting in P15, P16, around the mid-teens, not where a name like Olli Pakala should be.
And the thing is, if Olli Pakala can start a race in third, then actually he is going to potentially challenge for a race victory. And this is a salivating top three right now, because Kroenke, yes, he has got himself pole position, but only by 37 one-thousandths of a second. We know how good Graham Carroll can be on starts. We know how good Olli Pakala can be on starts. We've actually got two of the best starters in the field starting in second and third place right now. And if you're Martin Kroenke, you're going to be rear view mirroring that drive down into Copse Corner if things stay as they are. We've been having a look at a lap on board with Kazuki Omishima on and off. He's going to exit the final corner. Loffield, is he going to be able to join his teammate Yuta Saito up in the top 10? The answer to that question is going to become apparent right about now. Yes, he does. P number 4 for Omishima out of nowhere.
Yes, what a lap. And we spoke about Umeshima and Saito, so the two Japanese drivers right now in the front 4 rows of the grid. Incredible. And Saito, don't forget, he qualified and he finished his first ever race of his career in 5th at Interlagos in 2016. He's only 20 years old. The guy never gets spoken about. His talent's constantly overlooked. He's quick. And they've shown it again, those two guys. And so now they're both teammates of Radicals. Hopefully the other Radicals drivers as well can find their pace. Down the order anyway, Joni Tormela, big name down there in 14th, just ahead of Paschalis Georgis, who's also ahead of his teammate Isaac Price. And rest of the order. It's good to see that we don't have to split qualifying. We just had it on Pat Will, 35 cars into one field. And last thing to mention is, with Hutu not being here, of course, we don't really find out until the session commences.
Yeah, that's correct. And of course, Gregor Hutu, I'm trying to work out the regulations in my head right now. If Gregor Hutu attempts to join the race, I don't think he'll make it because there's 35 drivers. I'm actually going to have to check the regulations, because on iRacing he won't necessarily bump if all 35 drivers set themselves a qualifying time. So we'll check that one out in a moment, but I do see 35 qualifying times in. So Gregor Hutu, unless another driver decides not to take the field, Gregor Hutu will not be eligible to start this motor race, because 35 drivers, all with World Championship licenses, have qualified, aka set a valid lap time here today. We've been having a look on board with Martin Kroenke. He's got himself pole position, but let's show you the gap anyway. 120.076 time to beat. He goes faster. And again, this is that thing with Martin Kroenke. He's done it all season long. Just pushes that envelope. 1 minute 19.998, the only driver into the 1 minute 19s. How many times this season have I talked about that driver of Martin Kroenke just going just a little bit faster than anyone else, just fast enough just to annoy everyone else?
Yeah, it's becoming comedy for him almost right now this season, and whether anybody can knock him off the top step of the podium, we'll talk about that in our pre-race show and post-qualifying coverage for sure. I do want to say as well, the reason why you might be saying, okay, Gregor can take his drop round, right? And that's fine for not attending qualifying, but he did finish 17th at Road America.
Yep.
The amount of points he's lost from there, that should be his drop round. So now taking this as well as a drop round, it's really hurt his championship chances. But qualifying results coming up next, Will.
Yeah, indeed so. So qualifying is over. Here is your qualifying results then from the 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Martin Kroenke goes out. He had pole position already, but he goes out and sets a 1 minute 19.998, literally for the lols. Graham Carroll, a 10th behind there in the Apex Racing UK car. Olli Pakala will line up in 3rd. His best qualifying of the season. Same applies to the driver on the outside of row number 2. That is Kazuki Umeshima. Bono House there, P number 5. He was up in 3rd place early on in qualifying, slid back, couldn't make up time on that second run. Marcus Jensen, another Apex Racing UK driver, on the outside of the 3rd row of the grid. Marty Piatella in 7th place, Yuta Saito in 8th, Yao Vaz in 9th, and Patrick Holtzman will round out your top 10. Lots of diversity there in your top 10. We're going to talk about that in our pre-race show, because that's actually the most diverse grid we've had all season long, just like what happened last year. There's P number 11 through 20 up on your screen. Notice a mixture of Apex Racing UK, Commander Sim Sports, Vortex, InX, Core Sim Racing, and Radicals Online teams. And the remainder of the results then showing up for you now. We'll talk about this in more detail in a couple of moments' time here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. We'll step aside for a brief moment. Back with more thoughts and analysis after these messages.
Get ready, going green. Green, green, green.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live, 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Of course, if you missed anything from RaceSpot Race Day, we had a fantastic race in both the Formula Renault Sim Cup and the RaceSpot TV Super Cup. Check that one out on the iRacing YouTube page. Martin Cronkey, pole position, 1 minute 19.988 here today. Another pole position then for Martin Cronkey. But I actually want to talk about the rest of the field here, Johnny, because for me, this is the most diverse grid that we will see all year long. And I think part of that comes down to that spring vacation that we've had. It's allowed the likes of Radicals Online to kind of regroup a little bit. Yalvaz, Orion Race Team, and P9, good job by him. And I'm just going to try and count it in my head as I'm live, and I know this never works, but we've got ourselves 6 different teams inside the top 10.
Well, you put me on the spot now to get that right too, but we do have a diverse grid right now. So, good to see anyway. Privateer, do they count as their own team with Patrick Holtzman?
Of course they do.
So a good segue to talk about Patrick Holtzman, who, again now, off another team, pretty much I think that's the shortest stint he's had. I don't know what's gone on, and it could have been just a mutual thing. Maybe it's not a bad thing, but stability is key in sim racing, and I think when you have the same drivers year after year and you go through similar processes and repetition, think of it sort of like an offense in an NFL game or in basketball or something where you got the same players and it's fun, and the way your culture is, the way you go about things, the way you test, and the sense of humor you have, and everything's the same. You carry on and you can focus on improving yourself. Whereas when you're having a shift from team to team, I think this culture issue comes into play where you're constantly trying to find your feet all the time, and you're too distracted to just try to improve your own driving skill and learn, most importantly, from others. If that makes sense. Very long answer to my segue.
Fit is always a big thing in that, and you see that there's some drivers that's been on one team for 6-7 years. Martin Cronkey, case in point, Koan and Simsports, but there are other drivers who will move from one team to another for one of two reasons. Either they want to try and develop and they want to push themselves to the next level. I mean, that's why we see the likes of Matt Backham going to Koan and Simsports. You see the likes of people like Enzo Benito back in the day, the likes of Ollie Pakula going to Team Redline. Because it's for them, it's a chance to be at the very top in one of the biggest racing teams in sim racing. But then for other drivers, it does come down to fit. And I do hear that there are teams that are well established, they are successful, but people don't have fun necessarily in those teams. And I think the fun word is an important one because, you go out and compete for prize money here in the World Championship Grand Prix Series, but at the same time, if you're not having fun, it makes those hours of testing so difficult. And actually, it ends up becoming fractious very quickly. And as a former team owner myself, I know how important it is to keep the status quo and the dynamic of a team going.
Yeah. No, you're right. If you think about it, any sport, esports or normal sport, they're just games, So, you win or you lose, just get over yourself, bust yourself, work hard, try to improve, and have fun while you're at it. That's why people do this. And when you get paid for it professionally, and some of these guys will probably turn this, if they haven't already, turn this into a professional career, you only do it if you enjoy it. And I think that's part of the reason why I've spoken to, there's a certain name which I won't mention, but both him and I also went through similar situations, somebody else too, where you lose the passion for it because when it doesn't become fun anymore, you're like, this is becoming a task, a job, you need to focus on other things in life. It's not the same. I think when money comes in, it's an evil necessity, but it also helps you make more time for yourself to enjoy this, because to be competitive at this level that these guys are doing, they really dedicate their lives to it, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's just more these guys are committed, capable, and the worst driver on this grid is one of the best in the world. And it's the same in any motorsport series out there. When you have like Sakon Yamamoto or someone, no offense to Sakon, but he's a great driver, fast. But when you put him on a Formula One grid, he's overshadowed. So guys like that. Yeah, and it's also, I'll use a bit of a basketball reference here. LeBron James, when he went into the Heat, well, he had a team that came with him. Same when he went back to the Cavs. Same when applied to Paul George. When, and I'm going to say when, as a Pacers fan, he leaves the Pacers, he might end up back there in 2 years because of the fact that he doesn't feel in a new team like he has the people around him. Moving on a little bit further on, in terms of today, you've got three of the best starters right behind Martin Kroenke in Graham Carroll, Ollie Pakala, and Kazuki Mishima. Any one of those could be leading by the time we get out of Stowe Corner on lap number 1. Well, not even Stowe. How about Cops? Make it simple into turn 1, get the move done, go into maggots, and just slice your way into the first position. Graham's Graham's a tough cookie to break. This is his first race for Team Redline as well. So Graham, who is alongside his teammate behind his now new teammate Ollie Pakala, he's going to stick his nose in when he can. He's going to make a fight, and that's what his personality is. He wears his heart on his sleeve too. Pakala as well. Hats off to the guy for finally qualifying well, and he'll surely have a laugh at that too. He's been missing from the front, and we've missed him for sure. Kazuki 4th, but we haven't spoken about Bono House in 5th, Will, who quietly gets that 5th position. Will it be another quiet race for Bono? Do you think he can possibly get up on the podium?
If there's ever an opportunity to do so, now is that opportunity. I'm going to be blatantly honest about that. You will just notice, by the way, your screen going black for a couple of seconds. Don't worry, we've not gone anywhere. We're just doing some quick stuff behind the scenes. I would say that if there was ever the opportunity, now would be the opportunity for him to do so. He's got himself the best chance, I would say. It will now come down, in my opinion, to, well, basically, how good his start is compared to all the other drivers around him.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Bono. Like, the guy's quick. I've raced against him before, and I think he's a very quiet guy, keeps to himself. But I think when you really get to know him, and I've heard some good stories behind the scenes of his teammates and guys who spent time with him, he's a really good guy. And I think he's not the publicity guy that goes out there and does all the promotions and throws himself out there into the public. But moral of the story is, he's only had one podium in his career so far. His very short career in iRacing with 5 races. And that podium came out Montreal. Do you remember when Graham Carroll should have been on the podium that race, except for a man named Yao Vaz, who now starts this race from P9. Brilliant qualifying performance from him. Both he and Graham Carroll collided. So just a matter of note there that Bono is quietly trying to improve, but not as impressive as we thought he would be. People tipped him to be fighting for the championship.
I didn't.
Yeah, some people did. Some people did. When I say people, it's broad.
Yeah. We are going to get the qualifying lap up from the driver Martin Kroenke in just one moment's time, showing you just how good that qualifying lap was once again for Martin Cronkey. Do you think the pressure's more on him or off him now? He's won the first 5 rounds of the championship. He's halfway to having a perfect season. At what point does the pressure build up to its crescendo?
I mean, I don't know, Will. I've never been in Kroenkes' position. I'm not that good. So, I think after this round, only Hutu and Haas are within 1 race of Bono in terms of points. Based on where they finished today, it might be Kroenke leading from Bono by a whole race. In my opinion, and I don't want to comment on something I got no experience on, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say no pressure. I mean, if I look at it from his perspective, why would there be any pressure on you? You're dominating, you're fast, you're confident. I mean, confidence is one of the biggest keys to not making mistakes during the race. Just having a good season, and I've heard stories about him maybe building a team around him, and it's not always equal, and now guys are starting to serve him and all this kind of stuff, and it's not always the case. Those are just rumors you hear sometimes, and politics aside, because motor racing is probably the worst sport in the world for politics, he's doing a great job.
Here's the on-board lap then with Martin Cronkey. They got himself pole position. We've just seen him go through the Maggots-Beckett's complex. I mean, literally sublime. Through Stowe again, runs that curve on the exit of Stowe corner. Now, you saw a lot on Racebot Race Day, people going a little bit too far over that curve. That will really upset the balance of the race car. Either send you going straight on at club or into the right side retaining wall on the entrance into club. Down into the Abbey chicane. Braking nice and early, using the curb. A little bit of a double stab, though, on the steering wheel for Martin Cronkey. And that's probably, if there's been a mistake on the lap, that was a mistake that he made. Just having to take a double movement into the corner. Really nice, though, through the infield section of the racetrack. Not a foot wrong at all. See how he unwinds the car to give himself the better angle into Luffield. Pushes a little bit wide. It's okay. You can tighten it back up and then get onto the accelerator pedal as normal. Martin Cronkey, pole position once again. 1:19.998 for him. And there is once again confirmation of the top 10 up on your screen. And it's been a really good qualifying, as you say, for Graham Carroll, Ollie Pakula, but also Kazuki Umeshima as well, P number 4. Let's keep an eye out on him in this race. Marcus Jensen, great qualification effort by him. As the second page of this result is something that will be interesting to have a look at as well. You're going to have some good battles going on with like some Matt Backenline, Antoine Hegland at the start of this motor race. Stephen Michaels was inside the top 10 at the start of qualifying, but then fell back a little bit. Yanni Tamada 14th, and 15th place is Apashlas Agurgis. Well, it's almost time to start thinking about the race here. That's showing you how time flies when you're having fun. It is going to be a very interesting race here. The 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series is next here on Racespot TV and on iRacing Live. So, we're going to head ourselves over to race coverage now, and we'll be back with you in a couple of moments' time. Stick with us. This is the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
Introducing a whole new form of racing to the best online racing simulation in the world. This is Dirt Racing on iRacing.com. Race online at some of America's most legendary dirt tracks, including Eldora and Williams Grove. iRacing is the premier online racing game featuring NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, and now World of Outlaws, the leading sanctioning body for dirt racing. iRacing is easy to use and features a centralized ranking system to make sure you have the best experience at any skill level. With a massive inventory of high-precision laser scan tracks and cars with an unmatched dedication to quality and detail, iRacing gives you the most authentic online racing experience available. Thanks to iRacing's dynamic track system, developed specifically for dirt racing, tracks change over the course of a race, just like your favorite dirt track on a Friday or Saturday night. From a slick racing groove all the way up to the cushion, iRacing's dirt tracks deliver non-stop racing action. Partnered with the World of Outlaws, iRacing is your source for the most authentic dirt racing experience available, featuring 4 brand new tracks and 11 new cars, including street stocks, legends cars, late models, NASCAR trucks, winged and non-winged sprint cars, with much more on the way. Join the Dirt Revolution on iRacing.com and start slinging mud today.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for a breast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Hey guys, Christopher Bell here. As you guys know, iRacing is coming out with dirt and it's been a long time coming. So I'm here today to kind of show you around the sprint cars and hopefully give you some insight for whenever you first drive it. So here we are at Williams Grove, gonna go out and make a couple laps in the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on default setup with a gear change to a 522. As we roll out of the pits, you guys might notice that the car wants to pull left and you have to hold the steering wheel right to go straight. That's normal for a sprint car because you have so much stagger, it's always trying to turn the car left. Once you get up to speed, that goes away. Going down the straightaways, Williams Grove has really long straightaways and really tight corners. The big wings on the sprint cars, it always wants to pull you left into the corner, so it doesn't take much steering wheel input to get the car into the corner. A big key for the wing sprint cars is that they always like to go straight. They don't like to be too sideways. So the less steering wheel input you can have and the straighter you can keep the car, the faster you'll go. As the track slickens off, you'll be able to play with the setup to get the car driving even straighter yet. And that's a couple laps around Williams Grove. So here we are at Eldora Speedway. I'm on baseline setup with a gear change to a 511. As we roll out at Eldora Speedway, one thing that you'll notice is that the corners are really sweeping and it's almost a circular shape. The big thing about Eldora is just keeping that steering wheel straight. The straighter you keep the wheel and the less steering input that you give the car, the faster you'll go. The fast line around Eldora will be right around the inside wall in the corners and then with a big arc towards the outside walls down the straightaways. Then once the track slicks off, you'll be able to follow the groove up towards the outside wall, where the famous Eldora High Line comes into play. So now we're at Volusia Speedway Park with the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on baseline setup with a 511 gear, the same as what we ran at Eldora. Whenever you roll out on the racetrack, you'll notice that Volusia is similar to Eldora. They have long sweeping corners, and it's kind of circular in shape. At Volusia, whenever the track is fast, you'll want to be right down against the concrete wall in the corners with a nice big arc down the straightaway. Whenever the track starts to slicken up, you'll be able to follow the groove up higher and higher. Whenever you get into turns 3 and 4 though, the groove might get up onto the shelf, which is the flatter section of the racetrack. And then it becomes very difficult to exit turn 4 without getting into the wall. And that's just one of the characteristics of Volusia Speedway Park. Hope you guys have fun.
Did that?
Five times already in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series this year, Martin Kroenke has been the race winner. And there's only been 5 rounds. As we head ourselves to Silverstone for round number 6 of the championship, Martin Kroenke is again in pole position to win the motor race, quite literally being the fastest driver by just 1/10 of a second over Graham Carroll. Graham Carroll has recently moved away from Apex Racing UK to a new team. That team, of course, is Team Redline, where, interestingly, their star driver, the 5-time world champion, Gregor Hutu, is nowhere to be seen. And that's going to have a huge implications in his championship. So it's going to be Graham Carroll in second and Ollie Packler in third, who'll be carrying Team Redline's charge. Behind, it's a fascinating grid. Silverstone always produces fantastic grids, and it's done exactly the same here today. We welcome you to the 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. It's Will Vincent and Jonathan Simon, as we are back home in Silverstone. And Johnny, conditions here today, that's going to be interesting. 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 km/h winds. Now, those wind speeds aren't always an issue, but when you're in a big airfield like this, crosswinds becomes the big thing to worry about.
Yes, definitely. Good afternoon, everybody. And you speak about winds going into Stowe, going into Copse, those fast sweeping corners as well. It's just going to be so hard to handle in the McLaren MP4-30. The 38-degree track temp, though, we're still going to expect 1 stops as the ideal strategy. We almost had Joni Tormela at Monza try to 0-stop that race, but of course he entered the pit lane later on. So at this moment anyway at Silverstone, the keys to this event, you want some good high-speed balance. You want to manage the front left tyre wear, but come the race, the wind changes things very dramatically.
Yeah, indeed. So there's a look at your championship standings as we come into the 6th round of the championship. It's perfect point to Martin Kroenke, of course, 195 by winning every round of the championship so far. Gregor Hutu, 2nd place. Well, it'll be interesting today because, of course, Bono House will move into that 2nd place in the championship. And we've not always been ultra positive about Bono House. He's not had the best season, but exiting this round, he is almost guaranteed to be P number 2 in the championship. And, well, stats don't lie, Johnny.
Yeah, you're right. But at the same time, we say he hasn't had a good season based on expectations, yeah. But I think for a rookie season, if he came in as a no-name and nobody knew him, great season. Yeah. He's doing really well. So to be P2 in the championship after this round, which he surely will be if he doesn't make a mockery of his race, 60 laps coming up for these guys. We know around the 3.5 kilometer bridge layout of Silverstone, which is a nice historic version of it. We know we're running a parallel along with the Le Mans 24-hour 2 this weekend, so plenty of good historic motor racing as I'm watching Paul Ilbrink taking to the runoff here and on towards, I don't even know where he is on the racetrack in warm-up.
Going somewhere is what we're going to say. Here's a look then at your starting grid for the 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and it will be Martin Kroenke, Coanda Simsport, starting out front with Team Red Lines, Graham Carroll alongside him on the front row of the grid. Olli Pakala, 3rd place at Team Redline. 4th place, well, that one will go to Kazuki Umeshima, his best qualifying of the season so far. In fact, you can say the same for Olli Pakala just ahead of him. 5th place, well, that goes to Bono House, Marcus Jensen in 6th, Marta Piatella and Yuta Saito on a really interesting row number 4, and row 5 will be Yao Vaz and Patrick Holtzman. As we work ourselves through this field here, we have, again, for the 3rd time here today, Johnny, got ourselves some really interesting battles throughout the field.
Yep, definitely so. Looking forward to the grid here. Quite, I don't want to say randomized, but it is quite, different to what we normally see anyway. Kazuki Umeshima, potential race winner in the past. Can he do it again today? We want to see if anyone can knock off Martin Kroenke from that top step of the podium. We know Gregor Hutu, his main challenger, not here. What about Bono House? Graham Carroll. Olli Pakala as well, another name we shouldn't forget. Anybody else throughout the field? I know that I don't see Freek Schottos out there. And our pole sitter as well from last round, Peter Berryman, also unable to race this weekend. So lots of absences. And surely detentions coming up from their team bosses for that.
Yep. And now the talking stops. The practice is over and the drivers, again, make that journey down on towards pit road to start the 6th round of the championship. Martin Kroenke, as ever, has been fantastic in qualifying. Let's not forget, he hasn't started every race on pole position, and most of the time it's because he has made a mistake as much as it being one driver having a standout performance. Martin Kroenke really has dominated this season in every stretch of the imagination, be it his race pace, be it the way he's been able to control the way the grids have looked. But now it's going to be a case of who's going to be the best over 60 laps here at historic Silverstone. All the drivers are now lined up on the starting grid. So let's get you 60 laps of racing underway here in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Engines rev. Lights go out, and here we are then, down in towards turn number 1. They all will storm for the first time, and immediately it's a case of who can cover whom. Ollie Packler will move himself past Graham Carroll into second place early on. The question is, can they all make it through sector number 1? For the time being, the answer to that one is going to be yes. At the front of your field, it's Martin Kroenke who leads the way over the driver of Ollie Packler. Kazuki Umeshima, by the way, had a horrible start. He's fallen down 4 places into 7th place here, Johnny.
Yeah, did not catch the reaction time really well there, Kazuki Umeshima. He's lost out, and just a horrible start for him as well. You look down the order, Holtzman's dropped a position outside the top 10, but Yao Vaz, great start up into the 6th position. He's had a spike of good performances in the past and hoping to do that today here at Silverstone.
Yeah, at the front of your field, it is Martin Kroenke already with a 0.7 of a second advantage. So we asked the question, was it going to be the case of maybe someone challenging Martin Kroenke at the start of this one? Well, Ollie Packler had a fantastic start from 3rd place from the grid, but he couldn't quite find a way to go past Martin Kroenke on the opening corner. And now we've got a little bit more two-wide racing as we work ourselves through the field. This is with Joni Tormana and Antoine Hegelin. That's all the way down in P13, P14 right now. But it's been, I wouldn't say a lazy start to this motor race, but it's been a, as we say that, Tormana gets a bump, and is that Isaac Price there?
Correct.
It was Isaac Price, the two just making incident at the very end of the lap. We were on board for a moment with Joni Tormana. We're going to have a look then again at this one. Notice that core sim racing car of Isaac Price as the two make contact. They're both trying to come on towards pit road at the same time, and Tormana just cuts across Isaac Price there.
Yeah, so I think, I'm not really sure what just happened there. That was a ridiculous situation. Tormana entering the pit lane anyway, so Isaac Price caught unaware. Bit of a miscommunication between the two drivers as they were trying to scramble for position on the opening lap. But a lot of moments as well. Massimiliano Ficata down in 30th, lost it into Cops at turn 1. And Yao Vaz, after his brilliant start, he's all the way down in 31st.
Oh, that's horrible. And of course, he's had himself a pit stop. I believe that was a penalty as a consequence, because 21.3 seconds down pit road he has been. And sometimes starts like that mean nothing, but at the same time, a second on the lap number 1 can prove to be vital towards the end of the motor race. The field has got itself a little bit more spread out. We go on board with Paslis Gergis, core sim racing versus Patrick Holtzman in the number 27 versus 41 cars. Of course, Holtzman is once again a privateer here. So you'll see him in different colours for the 3rd time this season, trying to fight on for P number 10, and nothing really changing between those drivers. As down through your field a little bit further, we have got ourselves Fabricio Gobbi versus Tommy Meglec. That one is going on for P number 24.
Yep, so battles throughout the field here on the opening laps of Silverstone. Hegelin's very close to Gergis behind. Gergis needs a strong result. I think confidence for him right now at the middle part of the season, because this season's gone so quick. For these rookies as well, they don't have many opportunities to showcase their abilities right now with a shorter calendar. So it's the pressure's on for some of these guys, even down there for Meglic, Gobbi, Reminiek, all the way down from P23 to 25.
Let's go back to the front of your field, because Kroenke isn't having it all his own way right now. Ollie Packler has actually closed up a 1/10 of a second on this lap. As you see, the gaps were very close between them on that second lap. So whilst Kroenke had the better start, he's not yet been able to pull out of DRS range, and that has been normally the key to Martin Kroenke's success this season. Blitz the first couple of laps, get out at DRS range, and give himself some comfort. He's not been able to do that right now, and as a consequence, Ollie Packler is staying with him, and behind Ollie Packler, Graham Carroll is doing the same. The top 3 drivers separated by 1.3 seconds as they complete their 3rd lap of the motor race.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed by this. The 3 red line cars, actually. They're in a Coanda sandwich with Kroenke first, Piatella in 5th. And they're maintaining the gap well, if anything. Packler looks like he's creeping in on Kroenke as they head through Maggots Beckett's. About to go through Chapel now, the left-hander, accelerating away on the hangar straight. Here's the DRS zone, and Packler opens up the rear wing, excuse me, and here they go to Stowe. He's gaining more time. So good race pace from Packler so far.
Yeah, and you noticed that last time by, actually, he was a tenth of a second faster. Now, it's all very close, of course, when you're running in that dirty air, but Packala is sticking with him. As you see there, confirmation he did have the fastest lap of the motor race so far. As we just skip down the field a little bit, Marcus Jensen versus Suzuki Umeshima. Umeshima was able to make up a place after he had that miserable start, so he's back up into P number 6 right now. Yuta Saito runs in 8th place and actually kind of leads a train of drivers now as he is in 8th place.
Yeah, it's a very weird set of drivers there from 6 to 8. So you got Umeshima, Jensen, Saito, who these are 3 drivers we don't often see in the top 10. You know, Umeshima, yeah, every now and then. It's not really consistent. Saito the same. Jensen still young, still improving. One of the youngest drivers on the grid, Marcus Jensen. So he's got a lot to prove there for the Apex Racing UK team. But what we saw with Packala earlier on, Will, is through Stowe, he ran wide and he lost about a 10th. That's the pressure that these guys have against Martin Kroenke. You can't even lose a 10th. Like, to me, that's a fatal mistake. That's a 10th you might never gain back for the rest of the event if Kroenke breaks away.
Yeah, the gap currently is 7/10 of a second. And in the event that, you know, you lose a couple of tenths in the early laps, well, you are going to be in a situation quite clearly where you lose that DRS and then the scope of the race changes very, very quickly. Although Packala is still keeping the pressure on. Last time by, there's only 5/100ths of a second between them. And Graham Carroll is still stood there as well in 3rd place. Now, it'll be very interesting to see Graham Carroll in this Team Redline team because traditionally Apex would always start well when Graham Carroll was over there, then would fall back about 10-15 laps into a run. We don't know whether Graham Carroll has been able to sort that one out, of course, with now Team Redline gear.
Yeah, generally I think that might be the case. We can't come up with conspiracy theories, of course, but when he moves to the team, he's had plenty of time now at Redline to understand the way they work and the way they do things. Probably won't fit in culturally for another 3 to 6 months, but in terms of just the processes and how they go about setup, 3-4 weeks is plenty of time to learn some knowledge. And in such a complicated car, he needs to be able to sit down and speak to these guys, and he can bring in as well, Will, things that he does well that Team Redline had no idea about, and they can implement that in their own sort of setup and strategy too.
Well, I was thinking that one of the biggest issues that we've seen all season long was the fact that Redline weren't particularly strong in the first 3-4 laps of a motor race. Hello.
It's changed. Oh, and here we go. Conspiracy theories. It's going to be on those, you know, those YouTube videos people release. They're like 40 minutes long, and you contemplate your life. Why did I watch this?
Yeah.
It's going to turn into one of those conspiracy theories for sure. But remember we did our fractions here last year? We're already 1/10 through the event.
We are indeed. Matt Backham, P number 9, hunting down Yuta Saito, P number 8. Half a second separating those drivers right now. I do think the crosswinds are coming into play a little bit because the driver can get within half a second without too much difficulty. Then it seems to be that dirty air kicks in, and that is going to make the undercut overcut situation very, very interesting here today. A driver who can preserve the tyres and go a little bit longer, well, they could end up having a fantastic run. Although, at the same time, if you can come on towards pit road a little bit early, get yourself enough clean air and no traffic, and know that you've got enough to blitz and fast lap, I think the undercut will work best here because of how hard it seems to be to make an overtake move work. And you'd rather be in position front, as I've just seen Martin Kroenke make a bit of a mistake on the exit of Cops.
Yes, correct, Will. So made a mistake at Cops, ran off the racetrack, and Packala has a shot here going into Stowe. He's going to flick on DRS, and he's hopefully going to take the lead at the end of his straight.
Yeah, we just showed you the replay there. He just bumped over the curbs down at turn number 1. We are going back live because Ollie Packala is within 1/10 of a second. He looks down to the inside as they work themselves through Stowe, but he cannot get the move done. Will he try and do it again into club corner? No, he can't. So Martin Kroenke just holds on for the moment there, but it has now bunched these top 3 drivers up to within 1 second of each other, and that really is one of the first mistakes we have seen Martin Kroenke make all season long.
Wow. I mean, in quite a while anyway. The guy is an Iron Man, and so to see him make just a simple lapse of error and a judgment through Cops is incredible. But Packala's got to maintain his confidence here. He can't get too excited. He went up the inside at Stowe, which was the right thing to do, even if he knew that he probably wasn't going to end up in the lead by the end of it. So it's just good to put some pressure on the German. I do want to point out, though, Kroenke is able to take wider lines into corners. The car looks like it's more responsive. And I think that's the biggest key to Silverstone is when you have a car where you're able to steer, it's responsive, you're able to go left to right on the racetrack without worrying about going off into the grass. I think that's a good, confident car to have. But, hey, lap time's a different story because Ollie behind with a much tighter car, it seems, is still doing well.
Yeah, and all of a sudden that gap is immediately back up to the half a second that we've been talking about throughout the majority of this motor race already. Antoine Hegelin in P number 12 versus Patras Gergis. That one's going on for 11th place on track. Just to let you know, retiree-wise, we have Jorge Montanes out of the motor race. We have ourselves Fernet Kern, Ficarra, all making pit stops and penalties for Yoni Samara and Yao Vaz as well. So there's been a couple of people in the wars or having to take penalties early on in this event, and it does seem to be that we have got a couple of people trying to make moves. Fabrizio Gobbi, for example, versus Tomo Meglec there. They are... they went side by side for a moment. Gobbi came out worst of that one as they were two went side by side into the club corner there. Sim Racing Beijing versus Frostmar from Levano Racing. That almost ended up in tears and could have been a 4-5 car incident because of it being a place where the track really does narrow up into one lane.
Yeah, correct. And you talk about narrow areas into Abbey as well. Meglic makes a mistake, and now Gobbi is going to go up the inside, possibly into Brooklands. Good defensive driving there from Meglic. Closes the door, and he maintains P24. These guys have been scrapping it out all race so far, and they're still continuing away anyway on lap 9 of 60 here.
Yeah, there's a replay then of the first incident. I'm going to show you the second one. This, you can just see there, top of your screen, Rizzy mistake there made by Tomo Meglec as they'll work themselves through bridge corner, and yeah, Gobbi just couldn't make the pass work for him. But he had a bona fide attempt, shall we say, at the very least. And there's some good pack running going on down in your mid pack, but also towards the rear of the field as well. And we've got to remember, of course, at every point, and we're almost going to be at the halfway point of the season after this. Well, we are going to be after this race. Every point matters because as soon as we get out of here, you've got to start thinking, what do I need to do to maintain my license for 2018?
Yeah, that's a big key. I mean, Sebastian Job, for example, missed out on his license last year by 1 position and really had a... You know, people say he really didn't care much in the Pro Series. That's true, but if he kept his license, maybe he would still be racing out here this season. So there's a whole lot of different theories you can come up with. It is what it is. You move on, get the license. If you're not good enough, then you have to go and earn it back in the Pro Series, of course, as usual.
Well, Ollie Pakula lost a 1/10 of a second over the last couple of laps. In fact, we'll just have a look at the graphic there. You see, yeah, 0.2 of a second pretty much lost there by Ollie Pakula. The gap's up to 0.8 of a second. We're now into that critical phase for Ollie in which he has to really push it now for these next couple of laps to try and keep within DRS range, because as soon as he loses that, I do see Martin Kroenke being able to stretch his legs. You talk about the fact that Kroenke does seem to be able to handle the corners better here. I think Redline might have a little bit of an advantage on the straight line speed side of things, but I have to say, it does look as though that Coanda car is better suited on the rest of the racetrack.
No, it does look better. I think Kroenke's car is more dialed in. It looks a lot better to drive, whereas I'm watching, you know, Pakula and Graham behind, and car just looks a bit tight. We know that Graham has one of the, you know, the car, the front end just hits all over the place with Graham's driving style, so it's hard to assess the setup with him. But anyway, we can look into all these theories. We don't have the data on us, so we can't really come up with the silly things. But anyway, Kroenke still within the Kroenke still within the clutches between Pakula and Carroll now, a second between them all. So DRS, as you mentioned, Will.
Yeah, indeed. So we just saw, I think, a pass around the Alex Bergeron area on track. And just, well, going back towards the middle part of your field, Patrick Holtzman in the 27 machine started in P number 10, is running in P number 10 right now. In fact, I don't know if he started in P number 10. Let's have a look at the graphic on the left-hand side of your screen right now to show you the moves and shakers in this event. Actually, yeah, Patrick Holtzman started 10th, as I said. Matt Backernet has moved up 3 places, though, in this event so far. And Backen, we just showed him behind the driver of Yuta Saito, Martin Piatello as well. He does make good starts to these events and does find a way of being inside and around the top 5 at the start of these events. So Piatello, you know, we don't often talk about him, but he's quietly plodding along, 1.5 seconds behind Bono House, 3 seconds ahead of Kazuki Mishima.
Yeah, well, he had his best result at Monza was 7th, but his P5 here looking good as well. You can say, okay, Gregor's not here, he should be 6th, and Peter Berryman and all these guys, but, you know, it is motor racing. You can come up with anything you want to be self-deprecating or put guys down. He's got a good 5th place right now. He's only 1.8 seconds behind Bonahas, so the gaps will extrude as the race progresses, but I think at this stage, to see how close the field is, and we're on lap 12. I mean, 1/5 of the way through this event, and the top 5 are separated by 6 seconds. That's pretty good.
David Core versus Mo Garfilo. That is about going on for P17, 18. The top 8 there, down at the bottom of your screen, showing Kroenke leading by over Pacula, then Graham Carroll in 3rd, Bono House in 4th, Marty Piatella. Rounding out your top 5 as it seems right now, but David Core versus Mo Garfilo. Filo's the driver we haven't really heard any much of at all this season, as well as Remniak actually. Just going side by side. We just saw him on my screen, and he's, oh, we got 2 cars off. We've got Remniak and another car off. That is Tomo Meglek by the look of it. Yes, indeed it is, in the Sim Racing Bay Team car. Going to show you a replay of that one then. This one really starts on the exit of Copse Corner. So bear with us for a moment as the drivers are just heading themselves on the exit of Luffield on this replay. But we have ourselves 2 drivers, Tomo Meglek and Balis Remniak by the looks of it, who are involved in that one. Let's ride on board with Tomo Meglek. Talk us through it there, Johnny.
Yeah, well, it's hard to assess. You're putting me on the spot here. It just... Remniak is in the pit lane, you're saying? Sorry?
No, Remniak, it does look as though, yeah, Remniak hit the rear of Tomo Meglek.
No, it did, but my point is that, you know, Meglek slowed down in an area of the racetrack he shouldn't slow down. Remniak was full throttle because he's doing the right thing, but it's not Meglek's fault because he had to take a tighter line into the corner, so... Is it a cop-out to say racing incident? Where's that fence? Let me sit on the fence.
I think what happened is that I would actually argue something slightly different there. That Meglek moved across a little bit too early, really, and forced Remniak to either check up or hit him. And, well, Remniak didn't seem to be in the mood for checking up. As to go back towards the front of your field, we have still got that situation where... you've got yourself Ollie Pacula still staying within 7/10 of a second. Graham Carroll seems to be able to just about hold on, actually. So starting now to answer some of these questions we were talking about here, Johnny, does look as though that Graham Carroll's Team Redline car better suited to the long race, but we're still only about a quarter of the way through this event.
Yeah, correct. So you can't assess too much, but Graham's a good dark horse in this. First race with Redline. We don't know what his pace is like with his new team, whether or not he's unlocked something different. It's important, really right now, the key to this race is if Pacula has Graham in DRS zone of himself, they can work together. But Graham also needs Pacula to stay within DRS zone of Martin. If that happens and they stay the same as they are now, I think come pit stop time, around about lap 22, 23 is when we expect that first window to open for the one stop. That's when things are going to get shaky. But look at that now. Kroenke may have broken Pacula out of that 1 second mark. It's very close.
He didn't, but only by about 0.5 of a second. Now, what Kroenke needs to do is just nail Club Corner, nail Abbey Chicane, and then just hope that Pacula starts trying to push too hard. And I think that's actually what Pacula is doing anyway. He's pushing just a tiny bit too hard. Gap is 9.16 as they come up to the DRS zone. It does eke closer towards a second. I think the key sector is going to be now on the exit of the Abbey Chicane, although if I'm not very much mistaken, I think that Kroenke didn't have the best Abbey Chicane there as they worked themselves underneath the bridge, and yeah, he did lose 0.5 of a second as he pushes a little bit wide in Brooklands as well. So this is allowing Ollie Pacula to just stay in the mix. It'll come down, I think, now to the exit of this corner, Luffield, and see how, there we are, just there. Ollie Pacula is a little bit loose getting onto the throttle. That should be the difference maker. That it's actually not.
Well, you're right. Anyway, Luffield is a lap time killer, but through Copse they go, and the tightness of Pakula's car is getting worse as the stage progresses. Yeah, it's over a second now. The front end when he steers into the corner, it's not biting as well as the same way Kroenke's Commander SimSport car is. So it's just visually you can tell if you've been driving around open wheelers for a while, it's easy to see. But Bono, Piatella behind now. Those two are pretty much out of contention for the win at this stage anyway, because they're dropping like flies right now. And there's nothing else to really say. We have to wait until pit stops. Let's go.
Yeah,
we're always waiting. Yeah.
The thing is, what we saw for a moment, Olli Pakula did get himself back within the 1 second range, and then he didn't get a good enough run through Club Corner. That means now, on the second DRS zone, again, he couldn't utilize it. We showed you the onboard. He showed the fact that Olli Pakula couldn't use a DRS. And I don't think that's going to be an issue this lap. As actually, Graham Carroll sliding a little bit there through Brooklyn's corner. It is going to start hurting, I think, Olli Pakula and Graham Carroll. We are now in that critical stage of this race for the Team Redline versus Commander SimSports battle, where that gap needs to be 2 seconds at least by the time Martin Kroenke comes on towards pit road. That is my estimation. It must be 2 seconds for Martin Kroenke to win this race.
Yep, correct. And so those pit stops are coming up. The drivers are struggling with tires right now. You talk about slides through Copse. The car doesn't look that quick as it was compared to the start of the event anyway. And so these guys are really just waiting and dreaming for that first pit stop phase. It's always a good time for a pit stop as well, Will. It's good to just calm the guys down or calm the girls down and just really reset your stint if you had a bad first stint to start the race.
Matt Backham had a slow lap that last time by, which put him more into the clutches of Patrick Holtzman than it did to Matt Backham being able to close down Yuta Saito. This is another, well, actually, it's not even a two-way, three-way battle. It's actually a five-way battle. Yuta Saito is within 1/1000th of a second of being in DRS range, and then he just loses it with a poor exit out of club. So now he's lost DRS range to Marcus Jensen. And I will say that makes that a three-horse race now. Yuta Saito, Matt Backham, and Patrick Holtzman. I think this will now give the advantage to Matt Backham to just move himself past Saito, because now Saito hasn't got the DRS to kind of help him down the long hanger straightaway. So we should keep an eye out on this battle for a few minutes.
Yeah, and I saw some gravel kicked up as well. That might have been Umashima or Jensen in front that did kick the dust up into the air there on the exit of Priori on the run to Brooklands. Mac Backham joined Coanda this season, still trying to learn the ropes of how one of the top teams in sim racing runs. And he's really his first full-time season. He should have been in the World Championship last year, Will. You look at all these different situations that could have happened. If he didn't collect Hugo Luis at Suzuka in 2015, probably would have had the license for 2016. But then he didn't take the license when he got it. So I don't know, where
Sometimes a break is a good way of rebuilding a driver. And actually, we've seen a very different Matt Backham in 2017 to what you would have seen in 2014, 2015, for example. I actually think a year out for Backham was the best thing he's done.
Then Renault should be signing Pastor Maldonado and seeing what he can do. Who knows?
Never signed Pastor Maldonado.
No way. I do like the job, for example, and not to switch to Formula One, but Eric Bollier really managed Romain Grosjean well when he came back after his abysmal 09 stint.
Daniel
and trouble
Bieder
on the track.
Yeah, Daniel Bieder down at Club Corner. We were just having a look at him versus Fabrizio Gobbi. Isn't that the second time we've been talking about Gobbi in an incident today, actually? Let's get ourselves a replay. And this is Daniel Bieder. You see there in the Positive Sim Racing car, right-hand side of your screen. Israeli driver coming down into Club Corner. I need to see that one more time from a kind of more up angle, so to say, because it does look as though coming in. And here's the first part. Fabrizio was able to get past into Stowe Corner. Then Bieder tried to do the overcut there, get the better momentum out the corner. They two come into the corner at the same time. I think, honestly, Daniel Bieder just came across him a little bit there. Yep. He needed to have left enough room to allow Gobbi to actually make the corner, and he didn't do that.
Yeah, Bieder should have left some space, so it is what it is. It's obvious that one. He just If he went an inch bit to the right, they probably would have made it unscathed, because I think he did stop it in time, Gobby, on the apex. But anyway, beat us now on the back of a pack here that includes Alex Bergeron at the front, Isaac Price, Vaz, Joni Tormela. Now this is interesting, Will, because Price, Vaz, Tormela should not be down this far in the order, but they all had some dramatic moments in the opening lap. So here they go now, scrapping it away here on lap 18.
Oh yeah, this is fantastic stuff going on right now. We're right on board with that driver of Vaz, number 46, Orion race team car. Alex Bergeron actually has a very poor run out of club corner. That's going to allow at least the driver of Isaac Price to go past. Indeed, he does. Vaz going to go down the inside as they come down in towards the Abbey chicane. Nope, not going to happen for him, but we'll go on board then. Have a look at Isaac Price as he's going to try and now pull away as quickly as he can over that battle. Isaac Price now up into the 22nd place on track here today, as we then turn our attention a little bit further towards the front of the field. And Graham Carroll is now in the same situation as Ali Pakala was in about 4 or 5 laps ago. He is struggling to stay in the DRS range of Ali Pakala right now.
Yeah, so Pakala obviously now the gap's doubled since we last checked up on it. Graham looks good in the new livery, I gotta say. Yeah, different livery for him and different team, exciting times. But right now in this race, it's just slipping away 10th by 10th. It's a very slow death, Will. You know, it's like the worst way you can almost lose. And well, not really, actually. We saw the worst way you can lose was last year with Gregory Martin on the final lap. But
have you ever?
I did. I was part of the... I couldn't believe that last year when it happened. I thought it was just some lap car or something in the way, but it was really for the lead. If that happens today, it'd be unbelievable.
Antoine Hegelin, by the way, is in 12th place. Patras Gergis in 11th. These two are the closest battles on track as they exit Luffield. Course and Racing seems to have some good straight line speed here today. Antoine Hegelin, Apex Racing UK. Well, he has lost a couple of places, I think, in this race so far. No, he hasn't, actually. I'll take that one back. I was thinking about Marcus Jensen, of course, who started inside the top 10. He is still running inside the top 10 in the 7th place. Remember I talked about that 2-second window that Martin Kroenke had to get? He's just got it. Well, he just lost it for a second. It's 1.999, but it was 2 seconds a moment ago.
Oh, it is what it is. It's good stuff from Martin. There's been a lot of talk about how he's learned a lot. He's spoken to a lot of people, and nothing to do with setup stealing, but he's done his job, and I think he's mastered this car to a point where he's gotten the tips he's needed to do to implement to his own setup. He's got a team around him that he learns from and he teaches to, and it's just he's in that sort of Schumacher Ferrari element. When people always rank Senna as sort of the best driver in terms of talent, but Schumacher had the talent but was better at building a team around him. And I think Kroenke's done the real good Schumacher right now in terms of building a team. Yeah, so good stuff.
Daniel Arndt-Wensing, by the way, P number 16, Ilka Happala just ahead of him, Orion race team car. Ilka Happala, 15th place. 16th place, Daniel Arndt-Wensing as they exit Luffield, and a bit of oversteer for Wensing as he comes out of that corner. Had to readjust that car. That's going to cost him about 0.5 of a second as they both come down into Cops Corner once again. As Antoine Hegelin and Jamie Fluke going side by side right now. As we get ourselves a replay of that, because it must be one driver pushing a little bit wide, because that gap was far larger, in fact, as they came down towards turn 1. Antoine Hegelin, yeah, by the looks of it, went wide down it. Oh, he just locked the brakes as he tried to stop that car from spinning. Goes onto the actually asphalted runoff area. Back in my day, when I was a kid, that used to be gravel trap. But he loses the place to his teammate. As well, it's interesting what's going on right now with some of these drivers. As again, we have drivers from the same teams actually going at it together. And Antoine Hegelin went back down to the inside of Jamie Fluke. It's like, come on, bro. I know you're teammate, but I want that position back. I'm going to do it the quick way.
Easy stuff. And Hegelin, who had a podium this season. If Anton Hegelin gets on a podium, he deserves a bonus from Alex Simpson, his team boss. Surely in the thousands of dollars or pounds or whatever. That's a brilliant performance from Anton, who He's been in the series for quite a while now, for a few years. He's no rookie anymore. He's getting older, but at the same time, currently in P12, and this race isn't going as well as probably he would like to. I always thought for some reason Higglin could be a future world champion, but you never know, you know. We'll see if he proves himself in the future. He did have the podium this season, which proved my case correct. I might probably be wrong though.
Kazuki Mishima versus Marco Jensen. It's that classic Radicals Online versus Apex Racing UK battle. Kazuki Mishima had a miserable start to this motor race. I mean, started so high up in 4th place, fell down to 8th on lap number 1, has worked himself back up into P number 6. So, Radicals, another team who has got some good speed, as I've just seen a driver, Antoine Heggelin. We were talking about him. He's just had a moment because he's fallen down my timing screens pretty dramatically. Replay up for him. And this was down. He just made a complete mockery of Beckett by the look of it. Yeah, he did. As drivers then to start to overtake him. Something happened to Antoine Heggelin. Maybe it was down at Stowe Corner that he just pushed wide or something. Yeah, got completely loose down at Stowe. Pushes off onto the tarmac, then onto the gravel of the grass. 1, 2, 3, 4 places lost instantaneously for him. Antoine Heggelin. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we like to call the curse of the commentators.
Well, I don't believe in commentator curses, but I think he just carried too much speed into Stowe, and that just really... the car just wasn't balanced anyway. It's nothing to do with the wind direction. It's just driver error and trying to make up too much time. I just hate that phrase when somebody makes a mistake and they say, I've got to make up that 10th again. I'm like, you're going 100% all race. You can't make up time. You only try not to lose time. So Anton Higgelin's not going to make up for that error, but he can hopefully in the pit stop phases coming up. The window's open now, Will. And hopefully these guys refresh themselves for a strong second stint.
Yep, as Ollie Packer 2.1 seconds behind Martin Kroenke as it stands right now. So that 2-second window that I talked about being so important for Martin Kroenke, he's got there. Now I'm wondering whether or not Kroenke is just going to preserve his tyres as much as he can. Keep that window between 2 and 3 seconds just so he can manage this pit stop phase, because the difficulty is when you've got 2 teammates right behind you on track, it means that they can split their strategy up, and actually, you know what, Graham Carroll can come on towards pit road a lap after Ollie Packer there, and that in itself could be a big difference maker here.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I see the gap between, so Higgelin 24.4 seconds behind Kroenke, and then Filio is behind Higgelin. He's 30 seconds behind the leader of Kroenke. So there's a 6-second window there of clean air. And if Redline see a gap of clean air as we have Mac Backham entering the pit lane for Coanda, if they see clean air, I'm throwing a Redline guy, either Pakala or Carroll, into the pits. I don't care, you know, a P2 or P3, congrats. Good podium, good points, but go all out for the win. They can knock off Martin. They can throw all the guys at him. You got Bono House, throw him at Martin, see what happens. Just do something. And I think they really need to split their strategies here, because in the end, if you think about it, those 3 Redline cars will. I mean, they're going to finish 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, right? Even if you do muck up the strategy.
For 3.9 second pit stop there for Matt Backham as he rejoins the track in the Coanda Sim Sports car. There have been a couple of other drivers that's coming towards pit road. Daniel Arndt Wernsing has just made himself a pit stop. We saw him in battles earlier on. 4.3 seconds his pit stop was. Alex Bergeron's done a pit stop, 3.9 seconds for him. So we have had a couple of drivers coming in then at the very edge of what that pit window is. Ollie Packer is on pit road, so he's going to try and do the undercut. And this is what I talked about. If he can come into clean air, then actually he could be on for a flyer. And this is where Martin Kroenke's got to start thinking very quickly. Have I got the opportunity to carry on going, or do I need to react to this? Ollie Packer into his pit box. Should be no more than 4 seconds. It's 4 seconds exactly. Out and away he goes. Back on track. But will Packer come out in traffic? Well, there's a few cars. And actually there's a car off. Down at turn number 1. And that is Pashless Gergis. By the looks of it, there we can see a replay from him as he's crashed out down at turn number 1. Cops Corner. Oh, just loses it all by himself there. Snap oversteer. hits the tyre barrier. Well, that's going to be a trip on towards pit road for him, certainly. Graham Carroll hasn't yet pitted, but now it's going to be very interesting. Will Kroenke come on towards pit road this time by, or is he just going to carry on running his own strategy?
Now, we'll see. I know Georges is a very emotional driver, so I think he might even just end the race for himself anyway right now. Fluke has spun as well. Is that Jamie Fluke? I see one of the Apex cars off, so as Kroenke enters the pit lane, so he reacts now, Martin, to Ollie Pakula. So now Graham comes into the pits too. Bono House is the one that stays out. So this is important now to see where Ollie Pakula is on the racetrack, and he's behind a set of traffic here.
Yep, so Jamie Fluke spins. Bono House stays out. Martin Kroenke is on pit road. We ride on board of him then as he comes in for his solitary pit stop here today. It's 4 seconds. He's out and away. Graham Carroll doing the same right now. 4 seconds. He's out and away. Stephen Michaels is on pit road. Vortex Sim Racing. Just to give you confirmation, Martin Kroenke is ahead of, well, basically everyone. He's actually built up a bit of an advantage by the looks of it over Ollie Pakula. And there's actually a car right now between Ollie Pakula and Martin Kroenke. That is the driver of Ilkka Happara, who hasn't pitted, so he is a race technically for position. Graham Carroll has fallen back quite dramatically off of the driver of Ollie Pakula, though. So it's been a weird pit stop for Team Redline because they've not really done anything. In fact, all they've done is they spread themselves out some more. Marty Piatella hasn't pitted, Bono House hasn't pitted. Bono House is your race leader at this stage. Maybe they've put him out and see how long he can go, but it does seem to be the tyres are falling away quite dramatically in this race. That first set of tyres, and the fuel is at its maximum 100 kilos. That seems to be what's driven the tyres up quite a bit here. Bono House does stay out and do another lap. We need to have a look then to see what his lap time comparisons are to his best lap as he crosses the start-finish line. He did a 1:24.762. That is exactly 1 second slower than his fastest lap of the day. This doesn't look good for Bono House.
It doesn't, but he does get the bonus point for leading the lap as Piatella enters the pit lane in the other leading Coanda Simsport car. And for Redline anyway, it's not completely terrible right now, but it's probably the worst situation that they could have happened, or that could have occurred to him anyway. They tried to take the risks. Kroenke ended up following the same strategy as basically Graham Carroll. Pakula was held up in traffic, and they gained nothing from that pit stop phase. And now Kroenke has also extended his advantage as well to 2.2 seconds out of the pit stop. So let's see what Bono does. The options for Bono is, depending on track temperature as well, he can go to the end of the race. Probably not the best option because it's only 14 seconds a gap to Martin. So Martin would probably catch him, Will, I'd say, in maybe 14, 15 laps if he continues this same pace.
Oh, I think it'll be quicker than that. I'll be within 10 laps because Bono House's tyres, judging by with the spin we saw from Jamie Fluke, judging by what we saw of Pashless Gurgis, the fact that drivers are really struggling out here right now, and that fact Bono House is in. So he's going to come on towards pit road, end of lap number 27. So everyone pits before the halfway point, but let's not forget, at the start of this race, they had 100 kilograms of fuel on board. That means that it's harder on the tyres in the first 28 laps of the race compared to the last 32 laps in the motor race. So these guys should still be able to be good to go to the end of the event. You just got to worry just in case, for example, the likes of Ollie Pakula tries to charge back up to Martin Kroenke and close the gap. At what cost? Will he try and burn those tyres up too much by doing so? And actually also in the same way, if Pakula does end up putting a lot of pressure on Martin Kroenke, could he get him to overuse the tyres as well? That's going to be our thoughts as we head into the second half of the event. There's the top 8 along the bottom of your screen right now. In fact, that's not a good time to show that one, of course, because it needs to reset at the line. But it is Martin Kroenke leading by 2 seconds over Ollie Pakula. It's 1.4 between Pakula and Graham Carroll. Bono House in 4th. Martin Piatella rounds out your top 5. Umashima Bakken, Jensen, Saito, and Holtman. They are your top 10. We'll step aside for one moment. We'll be back with more after these messages.
Get ready, going green. Green, green, green.
Never miss a moment of RaceSpot TV side by side. We're on board actually there with Matt Backham. He's going side by side with Kazuki Umeshima. This is the battle for P number 6 right now. Business is picked up with these two drivers. They went side by side through Brooklands just now. However, status quo remains as it is. Kazuki Umeshima remains in P number 6. It's P number 7 for Matt Backham. There are your top 8 along the bottom of your screen. Worth noting, Ollie Pakala has closed up 3 tenths of a second whilst we've been away, Johnny. And this is what I mean. Pakala might try and charge back up to Martin Kroenke. At what cost to his tyres?
Yeah, that's true. And he did pit a lap before Martin. So I was expecting Ollie's pace to drop off lap by lap, because that 1 lap difference does make a huge difference. So good to see anyway, a good fight here going for the lead still.
Live timing and scoring, of course, always available. Just visit racespot.tv/timing. Of course, it only works if we're live. So if you're watching on Jinx TV, hello. Thank you for being a part of our coverage here on RaceSpot TV, the home of the iRacing World Championship Series. And if you're watching us, of course, on YouTube, don't forget that you can catch all the best action from the best series on iRacing on iRacing Live. Let's go and then have a look through your field a little bit. Ilka Happala versus Isaac Price. Now, these two drivers love to get into a scrap. Orion Racing versus Corson Racing. Happala again doing what Happala often does, quietly moving himself through the field a little bit. Currently in P number 12, Isaac Price actually not having a bad day in P11.
Yeah, so good stuff from the both of them. Ilka Happala, more than experienced. He's been in every single season of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the 33-year-old. He's been there since the start in 2010, and he's still pounding the rock here today as he goes through Cops at turn 1. Price trying to shake off the draft and the slipstream smart exit there, but here they go through Maggots and Beckett's, trying to avoid any dirty air effect, but you're really stuck in no man's land when you go through these corners. Just picks up the exit through Chapel, flicks on DRS here on the hangar straight, but I think he's too far behind to slot himself up into 11th. Yeah. Or maybe not.
No, he is. I mean, I think you need to be about 10th and a half back, no more, exiting Chapel if you're going to try and make that move work. Otherwise, it's always going to be a late lunge. I mean, you could try and just use a bit of overspeed on the outside, but we've seen that the winds here at Stoke Corner have made it difficult to overtake. And to actually go back to the Martin Kroenke, Ollie Pakala situation, Martin Kroenke has eked that lead back out to 2.0 seconds right now. So Martin Kroenke has picked up the pace. He's gained 2 tenths of a second in each of the last 2 laps. And actually for the driver of Martin Kroenke to show you his last couple of laps, you'll see there that it's not quite 2 tenths. It's 1.7, we'll say 0.176 and 0.166 are the gaps there. It's very hard when you're talking in thousandths of a second, Johnny.
Yeah, a lot of numbers involved, and that's the way this sport is anyway. Still watching Happala and Price going through Cops. Again, Happala looks like he's got the pace on Isaac, who hasn't made a pit stop yet in this event. So for Ilka anyway, they go through Maggots and Beckett's again. The front end, it's struggling to turn into the corner just because of the dirty air, but I think he's got a good run here out of Chapel. Here we go, flick on DRS, and this will be a candy from a baby move.
Thank you very much for coming. Ilka Happala moves himself up to P number 11. And actually, that's the thing now for Isaac Price. I think he's gone about 4 or 5 laps too long, especially when you consider the fact that he's got some front wing damage on that car as well. Yeah,
so you never know. We did see Joni Tormler at Monza do a very, almost the whole race.
Do you want to know something crazy? He's just at his fastest lap in the motor race.
Isaac Price?
Yeah, he just did his fastest lap of the event. 124.795 was his last lap. That's crazy stuff there. So he's managed the tyres perfectly by the looks of it.
Yeah, so Daniel Wensing also set his fastest lap. No, I'm joking. He went up at Vale, so he's lost about 5 seconds this lap. But he's fallen down. He's lost about 5 positions. Daniel Wensing, who, there's something weird with Wensing because sometimes he's up there in the order, and I'm like, wow, he's up like P10 and he's having a good race. And then you have days like today where he's back in the mid-pack and he doesn't get that much showing time. And he did drop a lot of positions this lap. He's lost 6, I think, as he crosses the line. So definitely had a huge moment.
Yeah, Club Corner is always one of the worst places, Garth, because it's a long, long trek back onto the racetrack. Yeah, there's a little bit of asphalt in the first part, but unless you're going to literally turn 90 degrees perpendicular to oncoming traffic, you go and do the scenic route, run the grass a little bit, and Wenzing now down into the 19th position on the track. Give you an update, we have no more retirees from what we were talking about earlier. One driver who scored a lap down, that is Fernick Kern in the Apex Racing Academy machine. He's the only driver classified as a lap down who's currently circulating on track. We've got 4 people out of the event. They are Pashas Gergis, Tomer Meglek, Massimiliano Ficara, and Jorge Montanes. We saw, of course, Gergis smashed down at turn number 1 earlier on. Meglek, of course, involved in the incident early on. Ficara, pretty much at the start of this motor race. Same applies really to Jorge Montanes. Back in versus Umashima, well, Umashima is starting to pull away a little bit in that battle.
Yeah, he is. So, lap times last time around anyway, he was 1/10 slower, though, than Backham, but he is still pulling away in terms of lap after lap. So that was just one different lap there. Martin, whether or not he sets the fastest lap, he will not be able to take a Grand Chelem today because Bono led 2 of those laps during the pit stop phases. But down in this order, I'm actually quite impressed from Umashima, especially Marcus Jensen there as well. Saito, is he our most underrated driver in the whole world? Not just iRacing, the whole world right now. Guy is...
So. He was once upon a time. I think ever since you've partnered him with Kazuki Umashima on Radicals Online, I think people have expected him to do pretty well. I mean, back when the 2 were running on their own team together, yeah, definitely Yuta Saito, severely underrated. I think actually right now, there are a couple of other drivers down the field who are dramatically underrated. It's also worth noting, by the way, Kevin Ellis Jr. has made the step up from the academy to being a fully fledged Apex Racing UK team car now. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Kevin Ellis Jr. getting the call from Apex.
Yeah, they needed that. Apex, and remember we spoke about this, Will, if Apex, with their team at the start of the season, if they got that team right and they figured a way to make that 8-car team work, it would be a huge success. They didn't make it work, and now they have to come up with a contingency plan if they had one. So plan B, what is it? And Graham's left the team. Alex hasn't raced, the team manager. I don't know if he has the time or the commitment to really do it this season. I think it might have been his last season anyway, so not such a big deal in terms of the overall team, but to lose a guy like Graham, who meant so much to that team, he had a lot of pace, just all over the place. And I know Michael Dinkle not racing here today. He was a great addition, but at the same time, you can have all these leaders, all these setup experts, but without the proper quick talent and drivers around them. I don't know if you remember we were speaking about this. It doesn't work.
Yeah, and I will think actually that Apex will still be able to say they are the 3rd best team in the World Championship Grand Prix Series this season. You can see that, for example, the fact that they've got Marcus Jensen he's dropped back actually. We're going to talk about this briefly. He has dropped back since pit stops here today. He's now behind Matt Backham, and it would be worth showing off the pit stops the drivers who have gained and the drivers who have lost. And actually, Jensen is down 2 places from where he qualified. Umashima's also down 2 places from where he qualified, just to make that one clear as well. But Marcus Jensen, good showing inside the top 10 there in the Scandinavian driver. But I would say that, if you were to answer the question, top 3 teams in the World Championship Grand Prix Series right now, easily it would be Commander, then it'll be Redline, then it'll be Apex Racing UK.
Yeah. Okay, if we want to do pecking order stuff, I'm just about to disrespect 2 drivers right now, so just beware for this. Do you think if Gregor Hutu was racing today, he'd be leading this race? Or do you think Ollie Packler and Graham are legitimately improved or found a good formula for this event?
I refuse to answer that question, mainly because, there's an honest reason.
I know.
There's an honest reason for this, because a race can only be judged based upon the people running in that and the circumstances they are running. We don't know where Gregor Hutu would have qualified. We don't know if Gregor Hutu had been running in this event, whether they would have taken a different strategy individually or as a whole. I honestly, and this is one of the things that really gets me going, is that you cannot say, well, if we slotted this driver in, he would finish in X position. I think it's impossible to do so, and you've got to commend the drivers for where they are currently in the event. And just to let you know, Kroenke has advanced that gap now to 2.5 seconds almost.
I don't know what to say. Well said. You really need to run for president or something for the like a drivers association for these guys. you ran a couple of leagues in the past, haven't you?
Yeah,
in terms of IndyCar, so you got a lot of experience there in terms of the politics side. And I can't be bothered speaking about politics, so we're going to move on. I really think though the pace from those guys at Packler and Carroll, just incredible. I mean, at this point of the race, you're almost 2/3 of the way through, and Ollie's 2.5 seconds behind a race win. Just great stuff. And at this time, we know it's slowly creeping away, and Martin's slowly got one hand on the trophy. It's good optimistic sign. The break did them well, and they're starting to figure things out. I think Kroenke won't clean sweep this season.
That's the question, honestly. I mean, that's the only thing that he could do to actually try and up Gregor Houtu. Of course, he won't be able to win most races in the season, but he might be able to consider winning the highest percentage of races. To do that, he'll have to win all the races to get 100% race wins. Reason for that one, of course, is back in 2010, when Gregor Houtu almost did a clean sweep. It was the fact that, there was more races in the calendar that year. Just having a look, by the way, through the field. Bakken versus Umashima, that one continues going on. It's back down to half of a second. Marcus Jensen behind, Yuta Saito behind. The gaps are very close. Jamie Fluke, Mogar Philo. This is one which has just been on my radar a little bit. And we are focusing quite a lot on the likes of Radicals and Apex. Oh, as Fluke gets a big wiggle on the exit there of the Abbey chicane and loses the position again to Antoine Hegelin.
Yeah, so Fluke there went on for the curb as well, didn't he? So it just hampered his exit. Not good for Jamie, who's come into the season as a rookie, and he's doing quite. I don't think he's doing quite as well as he expected. He had a good first round at Interlagos, but I think for Jamie anyway, it's a bit of a learning curve for him against the big names. He does think he has that sort of Jensen Button driving style. He doesn't like to fight the car too much. He finds it easier to just ease the car into the corner, but on the exit there, they're certainly not showing the Jensen Button and making that error. Yeah, as we can see there,
Fluke has said, Antoine Hegelin is not going to allow him to go back past without a bit of a fight. Daniel Arndt Wensing, of course, we saw him losing a number of positions earlier on in this event. He's now back behind Davide Corr, and having a look at the lap times between the two of them, there's a tenth or so separating. And again, Wensing, though, is running very close to the white lines on the exit of Stowe Corner. We saw this quite a bit on race day. And the best drivers are the ones who can use the curbs but don't need to abuse it. And I think that Wensing just going a little bit too far towards the point of being on the ragged edge to being smooth.
Yeah, sometimes it's the dirty air. It plays with you a little bit. You don't know. If you practice in clean air, you're like, here's the same line I'm going to take all race. And obviously you adjust based on tire wear and fuel and all this. But when dirty air comes into play, sometimes you might need to get used to that, or you misjudge certain corners. So different things come into play anyway. And that's Davide Corps in front of him in the 07 Orion Racing Team car. Davide Corps is someone we don't speak about often either. I think Davy is a guy that he's able to drive the car. He's capable. He's not in 100,000 incidents per race. He gets the points he needs. And it's important for a team like Orion, who are still going, not maybe too strong, but they're still going well. And I think, who knows where their foundation lies in the future. I think their talent will. When they had Riley Preston, but with all the issues he's had, almost being unraceable for him right now in this car, it's just, it's really put those teams' plans into a halt.
I would say as well, you could easily put Orion Race Team into one of the, not only the top 5 teams this year, you could easily put them into the top 5 teams in the history of the World Championship Grand Prix Series. And you can start that one off by the fact they're one of only a handful of teams who have ever scored a win in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. But consistently, yet they're not necessarily always getting top 10s, but they are consistently there or thereabouts. Riley Preston is a good thing to talk about really there, because of the fact that he's one of those people that helps build a team around him and actually helps support a team at the same time. Bakken, Jensen, Saito, that one hasn't changed at all. Wensing versus Davide Corp, well, that one, again, is still very close. What we're going to do, actually, we're going to ride on board with Daniel Arndt Wensing, give you a lap here of RaceSport TV Fan Immersion. sometimes we joke about the curse of the commentators. It actually was the opposite there for Daniel Lansing. It's almost as if we gave him a little bit of extra horsepower. Here's a look then again at the pass that you saw when we were riding on board of him. We'll take you back to Stowe Corner. This is Daniel Lansing. Comes out on Stowe Corner, gets a really good run actually. A bit of a poor run there for David Court, and then just manages to move himself alongside the two. They stay side by side for the moment as they work themselves through Club Corner. The outside line there, you have to go the long way around, but you can get on the throttle a little bit earlier, and Daniel Lansing was able to manage to make that one work perfectly to his advantage. So let's go back then to live coverage and show you what else is going on. Graham Carroll. Let's talk about him for a moment, because clearly he's not had a bad race. Clearly, starting your first race as a team Redline driver in third place is an accomplishment, but he's been outperformed minusculely by Ollie Packler here today.
Yeah, and that's just like, that's just nitpicking right now. And I don't know, if you have a livery as good looking as Graham Carroll's, I mean, Ollie Packler should just let him through. It's so cool. I mean, that's this new team, great livery. I think they chose a great color for Graham. Just like a nice, like McLaren chrome in a way, and you know, pre-Honda McLaren, obviously. Point is, anyway, we are driving the MP4-30, so we can't make too many Honda McLaren jokes. But right now for Graham, podium, not bad, but remember what he said, Will? I've said this every race. People are sick of this.
Or nothing.
He wants to win. Exactly.
Yeah.
He wants to win, and let's see if he can accomplish it. Only 4.8 seconds away right now from a victory, so you never know.
And also, let's not forget, there is so much respect between Graham Carroll and Ollie Packler as well after the Vegas eSports race that took place last year. Now, I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of why, but there is a lot of respect between these two drivers, and I think actually they are going to work really well as teammates.
I think that their personalities fit in well together, with Graham sort of, you know, Graham doesn't sugarcoat things. He tells it like it is, and he's, you know, in people's grills if they get things wrong. Whereas Packler, excuse me, is the chilled guy, and he's you know, has some fun with the sport and everything. And I think there's no real conflict to have between the two of them. You know, I think it's a good fit for those two. But do remember that they're not the only two in the team. It's not a two-car team. Bonnerhouse behind, who, you know, I don't think these guys deserve to be psychoanalyzed right now the way I'm doing, but I think all quality drivers, and as far as I know, every single driver I know in this field brings some sort of positive element to this series as a community, and it truly is a community when you go out there, Will. Like when when these drivers see each other in those e-races and they're like, hey, you know, I've raced against you for 10 years now. It's such a good feeling, and I think camaraderie to me is the thing I miss most about racing in the World Championship.
Well, second time today, we've been on board. As a two-make contact a little bit there. Daniel Lansing continuing to try and move himself back through the field. We were on board with Jamie Fluke as you just saw Lansing going past, but there looked as though there might have been a bit of contact between the two of them down on the exit of Stowe Corner. Let's keep an eye out on this one then. Replay coming up for you. Isn't going to be the best angle to look at it, but yeah, there was contact between the two of them there. Daniel Lansing coming just across there, and that cost Jamie Fluke a position. We've now actually also got Stephen Michaels side by side with Kevin Ellis Jr. This must have been a mistake for Stephen Michaels, because as you just saw on the replay as we were looking at him, he was a good way ahead of Kevin Ellis Jr., and he looks like he's fallen behind. So this must be down on the infield. Yeah, he just goes wide down at Priory, and that allows Kevin Ellis Jr. to go past him there. So 2 replays for the price of 1, 2 passes, 2 incidents for the price of 1.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing else to say there. Venting, remember we said it's the opposite of the commentator curse? It's all different now. So great event for him. Nothing else to say about that. I want to switch the focus quickly to Marcus Jensen right now. He's in one of his teammates. He's lapping right now, Ferenc Kern, who makes his way through. Marcus Jensen has DRS on the run down to Abbey, which if you haven't known all race, that is the other DRS zone here. It's interesting to see where they place that DRS zone, because we know when we use the arena section of the racetrack in Formula One, they use it on the run down to Brooklyn. So interesting placement.
Yeah, as, of course, just for those of you, again, who are new to the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, blue flag rules traditionally are informative only. So it is the responsibility of the passing driver to execute a clean and safe pass. Not in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. It's like in the FIA Formula 1 World Championship, where it means you must allow the faster driver who is lapping you to go past, and you can't basically hinder their progress. Shannon Whitmore, Tyler Hudson, the guys, as ever, from the officials team, doing a great job. So thank you to all you guys for what you do for this series and, of course, the entire iRacing World Championship Series. And again, it's often a thankless task to run and to marshal events like these. A couple of incidents they're going to have to talk about at the end of this event. Worth noting one thing, Graham Carroll back within 1 second of Ollie Packard for second.
Well, 3 times better than that. 0.3 of a second behind Ollie, who makes a mistake into Priori. And this is the closest the teammates have been all race now, as they have a scrap going into Luffield. Carroll needs a good exit here. Waits for the front end to bite, applies the throttle with the right foot and tucks in to the slipstream to begin another lap. And I think right now Carroll is looking good for P2.
Through Copse Corner. Let's see. I've got a feeling that Ollie Packler did what I was worried about and overused those tyres to try and close down Martin Kroenke. And now he's on the back foot, because it seems to be that something just snapped with that car. It's not as comfortable as it was previously. Now, on the exit of Chapel, it's not going to be close enough for Graham Carroll to make the pass over his Finnish teammate. But Carroll is close, and actually he almost went down to the inside there, down at Stowe Corner. Wasn't able to quite get the move done. But I would say now it's going to be a matter of time. And now that question's going to be, will Ollie race him, or will Ollie realise that resistance is futile and just let him go past? Teammate versus teammate.
You think Graham went up the inside if they weren't teammates?
That was
it was very, very close, and I thought he could have possibly made the move. Unfortunately, he didn't. Here he goes now, and he's lost a lot of time in the exit of bridge, so or through bridge now, excuse me. So Graham, that advantage he had, he was all over the gearbox of Ollie. It's come down to about half a second now, the gap.
Yeah, as I'll now come through Luffield once again. That gap's now kind of more back to normal, but we'll keep an eye out on that one over the course of the remaining 14 laps in this motor race, as we are into the back end of the event now. Just having a look through, Matt Backen, again, still there, Kazuki Machine. We talked about it, but nothing's really changed between them. Unitamada versus David Core. Well, this is an Inex Racing driver versus an Orion Race Team car, and it does seem to be that the core has started to fall off the pace a little bit here, because now Yoni Tamala in the Inex Racing Team car is going to try and put the pressure. And remember last year we were talking about Yoni Tamala winning the first two of the first 4 rounds of the championship, maybe setting himself up for a championship campaign. Inex Racing, David, of course, has a huge moment, and actually then Yoni Tamala apologises, has a moment of his own down at Brooklands. And the two now are nose to tail as they exit Luffield Corner. The run down towards Copse, they are going to be pretty much nose to tail. Is this going to be a time for Yoni Tamala to try and capitalise? Yes, it is. He'll go down to the inside, in towards Copse Corner, and Yoni Tamala will move himself up into P number 17.
Yeah, the 2 slides nullified the effect of each of them, and so Tamala now into P17. I think he just hasn't had a good event. You know, Monza was all right, but he did finish 12th. Wasn't a top 5 or anything like that. It's different now. The Inex team, he's really working almost on his own in a way, and that's, you know, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes there in terms of the McLaren, but it's not the same team as last season. Isaac Price is gone. We haven't really seen Jake Sturgis. It's a completely different unit. So I think, you know, this season, I don't want to look too far into it, but you don't lose talent. You know, I think that's the most important thing to note, Will.
As Toronto, as you say, up into 17th place on track. There are still little battles going on through the field. Isaac Price, actually, Dion Vergers, as we talk for about one Orion team, let's talk about another one, because they've just had themselves a little bit of a scrap. Replay of that one coming up for you now from our aerial coverage, brought to you by And One Design, official graphics partner of RaceBot TV. Down into Club Corner, and that was a lunge and a half there for Isaac Price. Tried to make it work, got side by side, couldn't seal the deal, but that was the first real lunge we've seen into Club Corner all day long.
Yeah, finally someone tried to make things interesting. And I've got a lump in my throat now because of that, actually. I was just having a Murray Walker moment. But anyway, it's Isaac Price is a great guy. Speak to him a lot. Crazy guy too. I don't know why he tries to do 24-hour races on his own, but I don't know. You don't want to. Yeah, he does what he wants to do. He's old enough to do whatever he wants to do in life. I also want to note as well, as close as Graham Carroll is to Ollie Pakula in front, Mac Backham as well, close to Kazuki Umeshima in P6, and those two former teammates, don't forget, Will, Umeshima and Backham, back in their Radicals days.
Indeed so. Matt Backham joined that team and spent most of his time actually on Radicals in the GT side of things. Then moved to step up to the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Of course, as we talked about earlier on, he joined Commander Simsports this year. It does seem to me that Umeshima has just about got the handle, though, of Matt Backham, because he has played a perfect drive here, really. Except for the start, Umeshima's not put a foot wrong today.
No, you're right. So, I mean, I haven't anyway. I haven't seen him put a foot wrong. I think P6 is an amazing result. Maybe he could have got in front of Piatella because that would have helped his case anyway. But he's in a Coanda sandwich. Doesn't really taste any good, but he's in a sandwich of two very talented drivers. I think he should be proud of himself. This is a guy that probably should have won Montreal in 2014. Yep. Came down to the wire in those final few laps. And you look, by the end of his career, Will, whenever that is, could be 50 years, I have no idea. But if he ends up without a race win, are you going to hate yourself every day for that, or are you just going to move on? You remember it, but you learn from it. And it's
he doesn't
racing,
want to be reminded. He doesn't want to be remembered as the guy who threw away the chance to win a race versus WRC. I think that's the only thing that will be in the back of Kazuki Umishima's mind. He wants to go and show that he can finish off. Just like Toyota right now in Le Mans are hoping that they can actually finish the deal. The same would apply to Kazuki Umeshima. He wants to be able to show that he can do the last one. We'll just let you know, by the way, Alex Bergeron has just moved down a position as he's been passed by Daniel Bieder. We can't unfortunately show that one to you, but he has moved himself down a position. Alex Bergeron, Daniel Bieder moving himself up in the Positive Sim Racing car to 24th place on track. As you have got Isaac Price, Dion Verges still scrapping it out. This one is down. And Backham, here we go. So let's go back to him then. And he's found a way past.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Umeshima can fight back, though. Going across the Vale straight into Club. Good defensive driving by Backham. Defends the inside line, and this has allowed the young Marcus Jensen into the battle with 10 laps remaining as they go around Club now through the exit into Abbey. I think they'll form up. Here we go into the replay.
Yeah, let's have a look then at the replay for Matt Backham. Down to the inside. Down at Stowe Corner. Made that one actually look easy in the end, but it all comes down to the momentum that he got through the exit of Chapel. We've been talking about that one all day as well. How important it is to get the run out of Chapel Corner. You can see, because Backham was so close, it made it easy for him not to have to do a lunge, but just pull alongside. And he got the move done because of how strong that car was on the exit of Chapel, just like I've been saying all day long. Arguably the most important corner on the racetrack here.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't want to focus your whole setup on that corner too, because you do need overall lap time. But it is definitely a very, very important corner on the run to the Hangar Straight. They're coming towards it now, those three. And Jensen, I'm very impressed by this guy. He's had his definitely by far the best race of his career, Marcus Jensen. And he's come into this round anyway. We know his best result was at Montreal with that 7th place finish. But I mean, he's only 16 years of age, Will. This is on the big stage of sim racing. He's going to have tens of thousands of people watching this afterwards. And he should be proud of what he's achieved so far today. At the same time, he hasn't achieved it yet.
So as we're riding on board then with Marcus Jensen, he's only half a second behind Kazuki Umeshima, looking to match his best finish of the season that he did at Montreal. Does seem to struggle a little bit though in the draft, because in the dirty air, because that car handled horribly through the Abbey chicane that time by. I'm going to put my teeth back in while she was gone.
Oh man. Well, while you do that, Umeshima goes off at the exit of Priory. Are we still having our pronunciation battles on that? Priory?
Yeah, it's Priory. I'm sorry. Let's go back on board with Jensen.
Yeah, so back on board with the ensign there. I've got to learn my British terms. I don't know how to... Is there a school for that or something? I need to spend more time around YouTube. Yeah, let's do it. But here we go. Jensen goes through Maggots and Beckett's. Just, you can see the darker line on the track. Starting to rubber up here towards the end of the event. On the straight here on the hangar straight. It's a good time to grab a break as a driver. Grab a quick drink as well. Obviously, it's sim racing, so if you've got something set up to the side, a bottle or something, definitely don't keep screwing it back on during the race. That's the stupidest thing you can do. So keep it unscrewed. Quick drinks. On towards the Vale straight again now. Braking. Don't run too deep into this corner. You always think you can carry more speed into Vale than you actually can. And through the exit, Umashima having issues well, and he's falling down the order. Umashima, he's stopped. He's almost looking like he's about to stop.
Yeah, let's have a look. Kazuki Umashima, he's lost himself a couple of other places. Let's get a replay. We need to get a replay of this one then from Kazuki Umashima, because we weren't looking at him at the time, but let's go back and have a look then. On board, Kazuki Umashima in the number 43 machine. This is down into Stowe Corner. We're going to keep it with him. He has lost a lot of places here. I'm trying to work out whether he's just picked up some damage or whether he's got some technical gremlins, which is all of a sudden costing him this race. You can see just a little bit twitchy through Club Corner that last time by. As, yeah, 2, 3. Oh, he's stuck in gear. That's what... He was stuck in gear. That was what the issue was at the point that we were starting to lose connection with him. So he has got some issues then. Has Kazuki Umashima and some technical gremlins as well, just kicking in for him. That's a big shame for Umashima, because he made a good recovery drive after the start of this event when he lost all those positions, able to work himself back up into P number 6, and now he's not going to finish inside the top 10 by the looks of it. As Patrick Holtzman, by the way, goes side by side with Ilkka Happala, the two drivers trying to vie out for position. Holtzman, of course, a privateer again, right behind Ilkka Happala. Wasn't able to find a way past, however, was Patrick Holtzman.
No, he was struggling as well on the exit there of Club. And he had a twitch, because I think he could have made a move into Abbey, possibly on Ilkka Happala, but it's not the case. They have to continue. But anyway, 7 laps remaining until we're at the halfway point of the season. And the shorter calendar, Will, it hasn't excited you less for the season? It's been too long. I missed this series. I missed this racing. But, you know, with the 12-race calendar, as much positives as everybody was cheering about it and loving it, we're already at halfway point of the season. I felt like we haven't had much racing at all. And, you know, it is what it is, though. It's not really something to dwell about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I would say, though, that the spring break, it does seem to have helped some teams quite a lot, actually. And that's one thing that is going to be worth thinking about. The impact of having one of these. I mean, generally we call it a summer break. We've had to call it a spring break this year, just to make sure no one shouts at us for getting our seasons wrong. Yuta Saito, by the way, still right on the rear now of Marcus Jensen. This will still be a battle in the last few laps.
Yeah, it definitely will. So he's going to have to keep on, maintain, first of all. He needs to stay in DRS zone. Second thing is to really find where his weaknesses are. I noticed when we were covering the support series earlier with the Porsche Super Cup, and how I noticed David Williams racing was very good under braking going into Club. So you're going to find where, and test drivers out, go for the dummy, see what happens, and see when a driver starts defending when he shouldn't, and start to get in their head a little bit. And I think if you do your study as well, and people do this as well in the real world of racing, you know your drivers, and you tailor your attack to their tendencies.
Right, a couple of things then. Martin Cronke has just disappeared, and he's pulled out a 7.3 second advantage over Graham Carroll. Graham Carroll, of course, now is in second place for that Team Redline car, ahead of Ollie Pakala, and Pakala has fallen back to 1.6 seconds behind. I am going to talk about the elephant in the room here, and that is the gap between, the difference between Graham Carroll and Ollie Pakala in this race compared to Bono House, because it's 10.3 seconds. And we've seen that for the majority of this race, Graham Carroll and Ollie Pakala have basically been within a second of each other. Bono House, however, hasn't been anywhere near those two drivers. What does that mean in terms of the hierarchy of Team Redline?
No, I don't know. I'm not getting involved on that. That's not my job. But I think, for them, first of all, I don't. If I was them, I don't really care about hierarchy. I don't care who's on top.
Okay, let me rephrase that. I don't mean hierarchy as in who's the number 1, number 2 driver. But surely, you're Bono House. You just got someone new coming into the team who's outperformed you in the first race. And yes, again, I know that both Ollie and Graham have spent more years in this series than Bono House. But again, after half a season, and to have someone new come in and be 10 seconds ahead in the same car.
Yeah, all right, so what you're saying is there could be conflict between them, and you're saying that now it's almost embarrassing for Bono. I don't know, like, the job anyway, if there is conflict, it's your fault. It's your job as a team owner or a team manager to bring in people who can work together and not have conflict. And most of the time with most racing drivers, you're always going to have conflict. So it's a real struggle to find those good personalities. So that's the number one thing. I think the people you bring in is the biggest key. I know if I was running a racing team, I really don't care, and I don't have the time for a number 1 driver or number 2. And it's sim racing, it's different. If it's Formula 1, you have to treat things a little bit differently. You can read all this stuff about Ross Brawn and his book that he released with Adam Parr, and there's some good stuff and good insights in that. But like in this sort of case right now, if you're Bono House, okay, great. New driver in the team. He's blitzed everyone. He's finished on top in his first race over all the other red line drivers. If you have a sense of character and a sense of teamwork, you'd go back to the drawing board. You'd support not just him, but everybody around you, and you'd find a way to actually win the race and not focus on the fact that you're 12, 14 seconds behind a guy who finished in second, even though he's your teammate. So that's what I'd say to that.
Okay. He does still run in P number 4, however, last time by 123.7 for 1 for Bono House. Behind Marcus Jensen, Matt Backham, that one continues. And it's a shame because all of a sudden Radicals, who were so strong in that P number 6, their best finish today will be Yuji Saito in P number 8. Although Saito last time by was 3/10 of a second faster than Marcus Jensen. And even though there's only 4 laps to go, let's think about what we saw at the end of the first stint. That is tyre wear. Some of these drivers' grip just falling off the cliff, Johnny.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, today track temperature was very, very hot. It's still 38 degrees. So it's hardly actually changed from start to finish. Still 38-degree track temp. Winds still picking up here and there and varying throughout the event. Ambient only 22. So in terms of this track, we know the left-hand side tires take the biggest sort of grunt just because of, you look at corners like Copse and Stowe as well. We go in a bridge too, the Luffield as well. There's so many right-hand turns, so the left side tires take the most grunt, and that's the reason for that tire wear.
Yeah, indeed. So just having a look now, Marcus Jensen. I think Marcus Jensen's been, I wouldn't say held up behind Matt Backham a little bit, but it's keeping the pressure on Yuji Saito onto him. This phrase I was looking for then. It keeps it a three-way battle. And I think that Marcus Jensen, he's spending a lot of time wondering where Yuji Saito is, what's going on that one. Last time by 124.2, as Antoine Heglin, by the way, has just passed Stephen Michaels, where Stephen Michaels had an issue. I think it's the latter, to be fair. But we're going to have a look anyway, because Stephen Michaels has just lost 2 places in that Vortex sim racing car in the last couple of moments, and this was Abby Chicane. Okay for Abby, so it must be an incident through Bridge Corner into Priory. I thought, he just locked the brakes into entry, runs wide, gets himself onto the tarmac, loses the place to Antoine Heglin, loses the place to Daniel Arndt Wernzen as well. So Stephen Michaels down to P number 15 with just a handful of laps to go.
Yeah, well, not good for Stephen, who I know is still working hard, as I mentioned earlier, to really improve himself and get back up to scratch in the World Championship. Former Twister Racing car driver. Former Twister Racing driver, excuse me. I should phrase the team correctly first of all. But that was an interesting fight you mentioned as well, between Backham, Jensen, Saito, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Look, I always thought that as soon as Backham went past, well, I'm like, that's it, race over. Look, they're still fighting away with 2 laps to go.
They are. In fact, it's far less than 2 laps to go, because here is the driver of Martin Kroenke heading himself down into Club Corner. so the white flag will be out for him next time by. But, well, Marcus Jensen, he's got himself 2 more opportunities. Question is here, is he going to be able to make it work? I don't think actually he can get the straight line speed advantage over that Commander car, Johnny.
No, that's one thing. So I think the DRS will certainly help now, because Backham is 7.8 seconds to the next car in front, and that is his teammate of Marty Piatella, though. Here they go across the straight. So Mac Backham without DRS, about 3:14. Marcus Jensen all the way up to 3:25. So there is a difference there, Will, but it's not... I don't know. I think the exit out of Chapel again. You're too right. Whenever you're right, I mean, it's always a bad sign. But the exit of Chapel is always the most important part there.
We are, however, into the final lap of the motor race, and that means we need to turn our attention back to this guy, Martin Kroenke. For the first half of this motor race, we've got to be clear, the 2 Team Redline drivers of Ollie Packler and Graham Carroll were really keeping Martin Kroenke on his toes. And I made the point on lap number 13 that Martin Kroenke had to get a gap of at least 2 seconds if he wanted to make sure he could go and pit and come out of the race lead. That turned out to be true, especially the way that traffic was very fine around that pit stop window. The drivers coming in early because of the high tyre wear at the start of this motor race. Since then, while Martin Kroenke, he did spend a couple of laps being caught by Ollie Packler, but realistically, Packler, I would argue, overused his tyres. And you can see that now because Packler is falling down into 3rd. Graham Carroll has inherited 2nd place. But one thing is certain, Martin Kroenke has once again dominated the weekend. Faster than anyone else in terms of qualifications, and the last 20 laps or so, he's pulled out a 10-second advantage over the field. There may well have been a spring break. There may well have been the chance for other teams to come and try and see what they could do, but no one has been able to stop Martin Kroenke. He wins the 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series and continues his 100% run of form. Graham Carroll will be hugely satisfied by this. 2nd place in his first ever race for Team Redline. He outperforms all of his teammates. Ollie Packler will come home in 3rd, and then P4 will go to Bono House. 5th place, well, that one belongs to the driver of Marty Piatella. Backham, Jensen, Saito, that one has gone into the final lap, but it does look as though that Backham will hold on and claim 6th place. Jensen will get 7th, and Yuta Saito will round out your top 8, but only just at the end there, because there's a nice little battle going on with Ilkka Haapala. The day again belongs to Martin Kroenke. He is, for the 6th time this year, a winner in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and he continues that dominant run of form. And well, with half the season gone, he really now has set himself up for a championship campaign like nothing we have seen since 2010. No one has been able to stop Martin Kroenke, and I'm starting to wonder whether anyone will be able to stop Martin Kroenke. Here's a look then at your final classifications. Martin Kroenke is your winner by 10.2 seconds, and he sets the fastest lap of the race on lap number 56, showing that he really didn't let off until the checkered flag. Graham Carroll comes home in the 2nd place, Ollie Packler in 3rd, Bono House in 4th, then Marty Piatella rounds out your top 5. P6, Mac Backham, P7 to Marcus Jensen, Yuta Saito in 8th, Ilkka Haapala in 9th, and then Patrick Holtzman will round out your top 10 here this afternoon. Going on back. There's Kazuki Yamashima. He finishes 11th, had some weird technical gremlin with about 10 to go that took him out of P number 6 and dropped him outside the top 10. He will be hugely disappointed by that one. Kevin Ellis Jr., 12th place. He's leading a charge of Apex Racing UK machines inside your top 20. Antoine Heglin in 13th place. Daniel Arndt Wensing. More passes, I think, than anyone else here today. Comes home at a well-deserved 14th place. Yoni Tormana in 15th. Jamie Fluke, David Accord, Stephen Michaels, Mogar Philo, and Yao Vaz. They round out your top 20 here today. Remainder of the results then up on your screen. Isaac Price in 21st place. Dion Verges, Fabrizio Gobbi, Daniel Bieder, Alex Bergeron, Balis Remniak, Frederick Kern, Victor Prieto, Paul Lilbrink. They all finished the race Diego Oliveira didn't, the same applies to Pashless Gergis, Toma Meglek, Massimiliano Ficara, and Jorge Montanez. They are your 34 drivers. Once again, the day belongs to Martin Kroenke. We're going to talk to him and other drivers after these messages. You're watching coverage of the 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Once again, Kroenke is your winner.
Watch Ernie, go, go, go. Car right, car right, car right, car right. Watch him, jam it. Get ready. Dude, more heads up than that. Jeez.
Right on the back wing. Can he make it happen?
Yes! Yes! Push like hell. We gotta stay in front of these guys.
Both drivers on the push to pass. Contact in the pit lane.
All right, 60. Let that eagle fly. What do I do? What happened? Push here. Push hard. Let's go get this guy. Car outside. Through behind you. Tell. Clear outside. Good job. Just spun behind you. I don't know if you got him or not.
He got out of it so hard. Look at these guys are all over the back.
Full throttle.
IndyCar.
The in and out lap.
What's next?
Come and get the checkers, big boy. Oh, baby, that was good. Hit me. Inside, outside.
2017 Verizon IndyCar Series. See what's next.
A bit like when Leicester City won the Premier League title a couple of years ago, and no one would have really predicted it at the start of the campaign. I think the same applies here to the driver of Martin Kroenke, because no one really expected him to not just be leading the championship, but to have won the first 6 rounds of the championship itself. Now, yeah, I would be the first one to say it was always going to be a straight-out fight between Kroenke and Hooter. We've seen that already. But no one would have predicted that it would have been such a comprehensive and systematic dismantling of all the other drivers around him. That would have mean that Martin Kroenke would leave the halfway point of the season in the most commanding position since 2010 in terms of the World Championship. But that is the situation that we are in as we welcome you to post-race coverage here on RaceSpot TV of the 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Johnny, disagree with me. You didn't think this was going to happen. No one, even Martin Kroenke himself, would not have expected to have won the first 6 rounds of the championship. We are seeing a little bit of history in the making here now.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I'm not going to disagree on it. I think I didn't expect this. Nobody expected this. I did expect Kroenke to definitely be the favorite and definitely show the form that he's shown now, but not to the point where he'd clean sweep the first 6 races. You know, it's ridiculous. It's definitely on par with Gregor Hootu's 2010 season where he won 14 in a row. We'll see what happens by the end of it, whether he gets that 100% wins rate or not, but it's definitely a good one. I'm looking forward to the second half of the season coming up.
Yeah, we are going to quickly run you through, if we can. We can't, unfortunately. We're going to try and show you the start of the race, but I don't think we have the opportunity to do so. In fact, we should be able to. Yeah, indeed, we are going to be able to. So this is what happened at the start of this motor race today, then. Engines got revving. Let's have a look from up above as the lights go out. You notice there, Ollie Packler gets a very good run off of 3rd place, able to just sweep ahead on his teammate Graham Carroll into that first corner. That was the most important part, really, you would argue. But Kroenke had a very good run off the line. As we have a look again at the replay from the rear, I mean, Carroll nailed the first part of that start, but then he just got wheel spin there, Johnny.
Yeah, that's just the way it is sometimes. I mean, you put in so much practice to it. You know, setup comes into play as well. Your right foot, clutch, all this other stuff comes into play too, as well as ERS deployment. So there's so many aspects to the start, and I think that's a good thing. I think the driver does make a difference at the start, and there's only so much you can do with practice and preparation. And last thing, actually, I said this before. I'm like, if you prepare for your starts, then that's your confidence, and when you have more experience, that's your confidence too. So preparation and experience, I think, is the biggest key to race starts.
Here's the incident that took Jorge Montanez out of the motor race on lap number 1. You can see it was Fabrizio Gobbi. Now, Gobbi was involved in 3 incidents here today. Looks like 2 of them were not his doing. One of them kind of was. Does that impact on a driver at all when they are in the wars as much as he was?
I think, as I said, it depends on your own character and your own sort of confidence too. I think young drivers really get into their own head a lot, and they're really not as confident. But as you get older, you know, you develop your own character, you develop your experiences. So I think that makes a huge difference.
As we then just have a look, and of course, the first part of this motor race, Martin Kroenke got himself up to about an 8/10 of a second advantage, but actually couldn't really pull away over the course of the first part of this motor race. We're going to talk to him in just 1 second's time. But Johnny, it wasn't a race filled with overtaking, but it was a very interesting race to see the tyres evolve, the strategy to evolve, and the drivers who really worked to find passes, and the drivers who worked to try and find time when it didn't work out for them.
Yeah, I think it was an ideal race in terms of you didn't have your 100 sort of Pirelli overtakes or pit stops as well, and you had strategy come into play. Yeah, as you mentioned, it was a well-fought race. Nothing came easy, especially the pass at the end when Graham and Ollie worked against each other as teammates and had to fight for position. So that was very crucial.
Yeah, and I think that will be one of the stories, how close that battle was between Ollie Pakula and Graham Carroll. We'll talk to them both in a moment's time. But first, we are going to speak to the driver of Martin Kroenke, winning his 6th race in a row. In fact, 6th race of the season, shall I say, because of course there was racing back 2016 as well. But once again, Martin, congratulations winning the 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
Oh, thanks very much.
Qualifying. You had yourself pole position, and then you went out and did another lap just to prove the competition wrong. And to be fair, it did look like an almost faultless lap, except for, I think, one little double turning down in the Abbey chicane.
I think that chicane actually was good. In the first lap, I was really not happy with how the club chicane went. I overshot the apex by, I don't know, half a meter, 3/4 of a meter, so lost substantial amount of time there. And also the next chicane, Vale, or whatever the name is, same story, also missed the apex. Lap was good though, but at the end of the day, you never know whether someone still has a lap to go and can improve. So I thought towards the end of the session, there's certainly potential in there, so why not go out and try to use it?
Were you worried about the start with 3 very fast starters behind you, and Graham Carroll, Ollie Pakula, and Kazuki Umeshima?
Well, you're always kind of worried, no matter who's behind. I mean, there's always a risk that you yourself mess up your start, but luckily that went fairly well. I think Ollie got a little bit of a better launch initially, but not good enough to challenge me into turn 1, so all good from my point of view.
And then you got yourself your traditional kind of 8-9 of a second advantage on lap number 1, but then you couldn't pull away. How frustrating was that for you during that first stint, being that close to breaking DRS for the first 14-15 laps, but not quite being able to complete that?
Very frustrating. I mean, I went off in turn 1 once, trying to push the envelope a little bit and really trying to get Ollie out of DRS, but seemingly dirty air wasn't strong enough and didn't really slow Ollie down enough at roughly 8/10 or so. But he still got DRS and could. I don't know how much you gain on the straight. I would assume maybe a 10th, maybe slightly over a 10th. So I couldn't really get him out of the DRS zone, which, as I probably guessed, it was extremely frustrating for me.
Then you broke, and I talked on the broadcast about there needing to be about a 2-second advantage for you to be safe coming into pit stops. Was that the same kind of gap you had in your head?
Ideally, it would have been a whole lot more, because at the end of the day, Ollie basically forced me to cover once he went to the pits, so there was not really a chance of going for a long third stint to have it comfortable in the second one. 2 seconds is kind of cutting it close. I think usually you'll go about a second faster with fresh tires, so yeah, if everything goes to plan for him, he's closing down from 2 seconds to 1 second-ish. So yeah, I don't want to have him DRS again, so I had to cover immediately.
And then there's one other thing about the race itself as well. Then after the pit stops, we saw Ollie close about 4.5, 5 tenths of a second over you. Were you starting to think I'd have to build the pace up, or were you thinking, well, he's going to overwork his tyres and fall off a cliff later on?
It was more of a deal of getting comfortable with the fresh tires. The car drives quite a bit different when the tires are fresh, and getting used to that. But 2-3 laps later, then I think it was all back under control, and Ollie didn't really have too much of a chance to really catch up quickly. There were a couple laps where I think he was a little bit quicker, but at the end of the day, I think it was controllable at that point.
Well, you're now 6 for 6, half the season done. Next race out, of course. We're back to the more moderate side of the season where there's, you know, less of a gap. It'll be Imola in a couple of weeks' time. Well, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks' time. On the 8th of July. 62 laps. Imola's a very different racetrack, really, to anywhere else we go all season. What's your thoughts heading in there?
Should be a good race. Last year, I think we have been there with a pretty good car. Hopefully we can get a car that is working the same or maybe even better than that. It is quite a different track though, since it essentially has one fast corner, sort of, and other than that it's just slow corners. So yeah, we'll see. Should be interesting.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you there. Before we let you go, Martin, who do you want to give a shout out to from your Kleiner Sports team?
Well, first of all, I want to thank all my teammates, especially Marty and Mac. Mitchell this time sadly couldn't take part as he has Red Cross commitments this weekend. But yeah, Marty and Mac have made a great job with preparing for the weekend. Also, a huge thanks to the spotters, to Philip and Dave and Klaus, who have been doing the strategy work today. And of course, also a huge shout out to our sponsors. First of all, Virtual Racing School, but also to Heusingfeld Engineering, Joel Real Timing, and Enron Design.
Thank you very much, Martin Kroenke. 6 for 6 in the season so far. And Johnny, we don't often have the opportunity to see something as spectacular as that at the halfway point of one of the biggest championships in all of esports.
Correct. Brilliant stuff, and hats off to Martin again. I mean, 6 out of 6. Not the biggest win streak in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and it's impossible to beat Gregor Hutu's 14, you know, in one season, obviously. So, good accomplishment, and let's see what he can do for the second half of the season.
Well, I'm really looking forward to this interview. Johnny Simon even, with Graham Carroll. Take it away.
Welcome, Graham. What a result for you for your first race with Redline. Good feelings for you. I mean, you're fitting in well with the team over the past few weeks. How's it all been going with them?
Yeah, awesome. You know, it's good to get a P2 today, and it's all, to be fair, it's been really good working with all the guys in the last couple of days. I know a few of them didn't turn out to race today, but I'm sure they'll be back in the next few races. But it's went really well and really enjoyed it. Having a car underneath me towards the end was kind of good. I think there could have been a bit better, judging by Martin's pace, but it was good. There's a lot of things that have been different for me, swapping teams, so it was good. We got quicker and quicker as the race went on, and the second stint was a bit tough, but it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. Cheers.
But do you think you would have been closer to Martin depending on your start? Because you had all that wheel spin at the start, and it really cost you a lot of time, but if you were in P2 and you weren't stuck behind Ollie, do you think you would have been much closer to Martin come the end?
It's all ifs and buts. Honestly, probably I think yes, to be fair. There was points that slightly holding me up, but I wasn't really too fussed, you know. This morning when I woke up, I didn't even think I was going to race, you know, so I was happy with P3 for a while, and then I sort of knew that Ollie pitted a lap earlier and I was starting to get closer on him, and inevitable happened. I got him in the end, but Martin still done a good job. At the very end, I was having a few big moments, and he was still sort of setting fastest laps of the race and stuff. So he still definitely got a bit at the end. But yeah, and joining these guys, I've learnt a lot more and understand the car a bit differently now. So it's looking good for the rest of the year. We're going to have to beat him at some point, I think.
Yeah, well, apologies for that. I do know racing, you should never think about the ifs or buts. Motor racing is variable, a lot of randoms come into play. But then, you know, I spoke about, and during the broadcast, Will and I were discussing this, you're coming into a culture that's renowned for winning. What's your role there at Redline now? I mean, where do you come into play with the whole bigger picture of the puzzle?
Just win as much as you can. That's the thing, you know. It's Redline's got such a background in winning, and Martin's doing well at the minute. But just because I've joined, it's not really going to change anything. But we're working good as a team, and I'm sure one of us will get them by the end of the year. I'm pretty positive on that, you know. So it's that's it. Just join the team and hopefully continue how they all go, you know, up the front and winning all these races. And I can see how the sort of style of practice and how things are done here is that lots of wins will be on the cards, fingers crossed.
Well, that's the last thing I want to ask you is, I mean, the style of fitting into Redline, we already spoke about that, but have you incorporated any of your own ideas that Redline have said, oh, we like the way that Graham does this, and they start to put it into their own practices? Because for guys like Gregor, he's been in that team for years and years now, so he's used to the same culture and practices, so implementing anything new is really needs to fit in and align with what they want to achieve as a team.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's some of the stuff I'm learning is pretty unreal, to be fair. Some of the stuff with the car, but it's a team thing, you know. We're all trying different stuff, and I'll bring some stuff to the table, but in the end, it's sort of a bit of both. In the end, you know, it's never going to be one or the other. But it's you know, when I joined, I was kind of getting beat by these guys, you know. So it's good to sort of be on the sort of same pace and know we've sort of got a good car, but we're obviously still just lacking just slightly. But we'll get there, you know. But it's been a really good race and really enjoyed today and I being part of the team.
Yeah, good stuff. Graham Carroll there, Will, who came home second in his first race with Team Redline, ended up on top. Does a bit of a Raikkonen 07 with Ferrari.
Well, there we are, from one Team Redline driver to another then. We're going to have a quick word with Ollie Pakula. And Ollie, first question, probably the most important one. Did you spend too much of your tyres trying to close down Martin Kroenke after that pit stop?
I have an answer to it.
Okay. Well,
I took a more risky approach with the setup. Comparing to Graham and Bono, I for sure I had the pace, but I took a risk with the setup, and it didn't pay off this time. So.
Okay. Well, talk us through your race overall then, because fantastic launch on the line, up from P3 into P2. Were there for the majority of the race, but then your own teammates started catching you with about 15 laps to go.
Yeah, I had a good start. First in 2 years, I bet. It's the best so far. Yeah, I had a good battle with Martin, got side by side, but unfortunately I, at the moment, running with single monitor because one monitor isn't working, so I had to back off a little bit, couldn't push to the club corner, and Martin kept the lead, and it was train driving, and at some point I screwed up with the ERS at the exit of the last corner, and then we lost the DRS. And after that time, my risky setup move gave me grey hairs with the rear tires. So that's pretty much it. Then Graham got me. Obviously, he had better rears in the end. So P3, but can't complain.
You get yourself in, say, that third place in the event here today. You actually, one of your best qualifyings as well. Is there something that you worked on in the spring vacation to help you in qualifying?
No. I mean, this definitely wasn't even the best. I've changed few stuff in my preparation, but yeah, like Rachel said in this chat, that it's mainly the you know, partying and stuff, relaxing.
Well, next time out is Imola. Imola is a very different racetrack from today. In fact, it's kind of unique in this series in the way it is, where you've got to prepare for that race. Do you think that's going to be the chance for Team Redline to finally take down this juggernaut of Coanda and Martin Kroenke?
I don't know. I think for the next race we know already what to do to match the pace. So I think it's mainly setup thing what we are missing at the moment. But yeah, we'll see. Let's hope a good race. Imola is tricky one. I think last year we had like 30 crashes or something like that. So qualifying will be important. But we'll see. It's gonna be fun.
Well, before we let you go, as ever, chance to say a couple of words in Finnish to your friends and anyone you want to give a shout out to from Team Redline.
I would love to. Thank you. Terveisiä täältä Sakelantiasta. Ei mitään, tuossa tuli vähän hyvä treenit oli pohjalla ja aika luottavaa. Niin kuin oli meni ihan ok, ei siinä mitään. Se oli vaan ihan kierroksesta kiinni, että oliko paalua vai ei. Kisassa sitten otin riskiä vähän erilainen setup ja sitten alkoi auto yliohjaa ja siinä sitten menetettiin johtotaistelu ja sitten Grahami tuli siihen eteen. Se on semmoista, paljon paremmin menee nyt ja katsotaan jos sitä jaksaa pystyy loppukaudelle parantaa. Thanks guys, thank Fanatic Redline and the guys.
Kiitos there. Thank you to Olli Pakala, third place here today in the 6th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Going to head it back to Johnny. He stood by with Marty Piatella.
Marty, welcome back. Another interview, another time around P5. First of all, could you have caught Bono in the end? You were within 9 seconds of him. It seemed that he was struggling for pace. Were you struggling for pace, or were you happy with your racing so far? Because I feel like you could have caught him if you'd been obviously slightly more faster, which is obvious.
Yeah, I mean, if I would have drawn faster, I would have been more... position could have been better. But yeah, that aside, I don't really know. I tried to challenge him in the early stages of the race and couldn't really do it. I might have been a bit faster in the end, but because my random number generator failed, I had to save fuel for basically 40 laps of the race. So that's one reason why I was so far behind him midway through the race. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. P5, first one this season, so yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, we'll talk about your start, because off the line you just rocketed off, and you had I think you jumped up about 2-3 positions to my memory, but it was a brilliant start from your perspective.
Yeah, I had some tailwind. No, I just got good off the line, didn't get any wheel spin. Yeah, thanks Rachel. Actually I might have farted. Yeah.
Oh boy. Back to actually talking about not farting, but towards the end now, you finished 5th. You've stolen Mr. 5 away from Mac Backham, who is probably happy he didn't finish 5th again. Next race is Imola. I remember what happened there last year, podium for you. Is that a track where that can really reflect the same maybe in a few weeks' time for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where we aim for. I mean, the pace is there and everything is good. I mean, there's no reason why me and Mitchell, I don't know if he's going to race, but there's no reason why we couldn't do a bit better. I mean, this race I was 30 seconds behind Martin in the same car with basically clean air, though with some fuel saving, but still, there's still room to improve. So, yeah, but I'm looking forward to it.
I was saying, why are Coanda so good at Imola? At least last year when we saw you, because what tailors the track well to the team, or is it just a coincidence, or what is it? Because it could be the same sort of dominance we see again.
I have no idea. I just drive.
So it's that simple. But there you go. Any other comments you want to make in Finnish, perhaps?
Yeah. Eihän siinä kohtuullinen kisa taas, tai oikeastaan pitkästä aikaa. Hyvät pisteet ja bensaa tarvitsee säästellä puolessa välissä kisaa aika raskaastikin, mutta P5, ei mitään. Eteenpäin. Terkkuja äitille ja muille tutuille.
There you go, Will. Martin Pitella done and dusted for the first half of the season and ready to go for Imola.
Yep, and up 2 places as well. Let's not forget that, from 7th to 5th place here in the field. Finally, let's have a quick chat then with Matt Backham. Matt Backham, this is a little bit unfamiliar for you. Congratulations, you finished 6th.
Yeah, that's the first time ever I finished in 6th. Yeah, all my WCS races in the Williams or the McLaren have been P5 or P7 pretty much, so right in the middle today.
Well, talk us through your race then, because we saw a lot of battling with you and the Radicals and line driver Kazuki Mishima for the majority of the race, but it did seem to be that you'd have trouble really closing up to the rear for the exit of Chapel.
Yeah, well, I found it very difficult to catch up anywhere, really. I already knew from the Pro Series race that it's pretty much impossible to pass here unless someone in front of you makes a mistake. But I was quite fortunate with a good start, at least, from my bad quali position. And after that, I think it was just a 4-man train pretty much, and I pitted really early. And the undercut worked pretty well. And then in the end, it was just driving until the guy in front of me made a mistake, which luckily happened. And that allowed me to capitalize. And yeah, I just took it home from there because I was pretty close to the incident limit, I must say.
Now, you get yourself P6 here today. It's been an overall success based on where you are qualifying. Imola in 2 weeks' time is always one of those weird tracks where anything can happen. Do you think that's going to be a chance for you to get closer to the podium?
Tough to say. I sure hope so. I was really strong here in the Pro Series, also in qualifying, so that should help a bit because that's pretty much the area I'm lacking at the moment. Yeah, I'm hoping to get at least a P5, but yeah, for sure I want to do better.
Well, thank you very much. Matt Backham coming home P number 6 here today. And Johnny, we've been on air for a long time, but it's okay. We'll just finish off with some final thoughts then. And I'm going to have to say this, the thing that stood out for me here today was how Redline gave it a really good shot, but they just couldn't get it when it mattered.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't know what to say. It's the same thing every round now. So do you keep pounding the rock, and when nothing seems to help, one day it might, but do you have to change what you do? And it's a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think based on today's results, they're getting somewhere. And let's see what happens in the future. I think keep it simple that way. That you can't really look into this too far. We can't psychoanalyze drivers. We can't criticize everything that they do. It's P2. It's amazing results. So good stuff. P2, P3, P4, even better.
Yeah, I can agree with that one. I mean, they are, again, one of the best, if not the second best team in iRacing right now, and they get themselves 2 drivers on the podium, 1 driver right behind in P number 4. One cannot take that away from them. I will have to say it's been a fantastic race here today on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. There is a reminder of the top 10 here today. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, next round of the championship will be at Imola, so please do make sure you join us for that one. In the meanwhile, though, once again, we have to say congratulations for the 6th time in a row to Martin Kroenke in the 2017 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Again, Martin Kroenke seems to be the dominant driver in the 2017 campaign. And again, we leave a race venue asking the question, can anyone stop him? That's to find out in Imola in July 8th to find out. From myself, Will Vinton, and from Jonathan Simone, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at ATVO, official graphics engine of RaceSpot TV, to And One Design, and of course to Istvan Balaus, track cams for gourmets. We'll talk to you all in a few weeks' time. Have a fantastic weekend worth of racing. Goodbye.